Chapter 153, Get Lost. The hand pressed against Enhao's shoulder belonged to Guan. Enhao turned his head cautiously, and upon seeing Guan, the joy in his heart erupted completely. Master! Enhao couldn't help but turn around and embrace Guan. Although Guan was still wearing a mask and his attire was different from before, Enhao recognized him at a glance as his master. Guan suddenly disappeared, causing Enhao to stumble forward a step. He looked back to find Guan 7 steps away, which made him sigh in relief. For a moment when his master disappeared, he thought he had fallen into an illusion. Tell me what happened? Guan asked. The mountain was still trembling, but with Guan's arrival, Enhao didn't feel any panic. Instead, he was very excited and began narrating the whole feud. Guan listened carefully. Not far away, Sienna stared at Guan with eyes full of curiosity. This person is Enhao's master? How did he get in here? During his narration, Enhao couldn't resist using his divine sense to probe Guan's true face, but the power within the mask rebounded his divine sense, making him feel a thrill of fear. Guan remained silent, which made Enhao feel ashamed. He dared not offend his master any further and concentrated fully on recounting his grudge with Prince Xizong of the Tianwei dynasty. 2 months ago, he found this cave ruin site based on the map given by sage Xian Miao. However, he couldn't enter it. After struggling for a month, he went out for further training and then met Xizong and Sienna. Xizong had participated in the Golden List competition back in the day and even made it to the top 10. The two had been rivals. Upon meeting again, they hit it off, making Enhao think he had made a close friend like sage Xian Miao. So, the three shared pleasant times traveling and sightseeing. Later, Enhao shared the opportunity with Xizong and his sister. Unexpectedly, Xizong had always held a grudge for losing to Enhao. Learning that Enhao came for the opportunity, he planned to capture Enhao. After a fierce battle, both were seriously injured, and Enhao abducted Sienna. Enhao brought Sienna back here. During their argument, they accidentally triggered a mechanism, revealing the cave entrance in the mountain wall. Just as they were about to enter, they didn't expect Xizong to catch up so quickly, with even a void-crossing realm cultivator accompanying him. Enhao was severely injured by an ambush while bringing Sienna into the cave. Fortunately, the cave entrance closed in time, saving him from further danger. After Enhao finished speaking, he was very angry and cursed, "That dog Xizong. I trusted him so much, I must have been blind." Sienna pursed her lips but didn't speak up for Xizong, as she also disapproved of his actions. Boom! An explosion echoed from the cave passage, followed by a gust of wind that ruffled the robes of the three. Guan then looked at the statue in the center of the cave chamber, deep in thought. Footsteps sounded, and Enhao didn't panic. He moved next to Sienna, preparing to use her as a hostage. Let her go. There's no need to use a woman as a threat, it's meaningless. Guan's voice rang out. Sienna immediately beamed, quickly saying, "Thank you, Senior, you are indeed wise." Enhao glared at her but obediently removed the talisman paper from her body. As soon as the talisman paper was removed, Sienna regained control of her body and sighed in relief. She didn't run toward the cave passage but stood beside Enhao. Just then, a group of cultivators came through the cave entrance, led by Xizong. Behind him was a man in a black robe with golden patterns, an imposing presence, half-white hair, a handsome face, and cold eyes exuding an indescribable pressure. Xizong's gaze fell on Guan, his brows furrowing. He raised his hand in greeting and asked, "May I ask who you are, Taoist friend, and why are you here?" Sienna spoke up, "Second brother, he's Enhao's master. Let's end this matter here." "Master?" Xizong's frown deepened and he asked, "Are you sect master LV?" Guan glanced at the black-robed man behind Xizong and performed lifespan detection. Ancestor Xingyan, Mystic Heart Realm 2nd Layer 1904/4400/4600. The Tianwei dynasty truly hid dragons and crouching tigers. It's unclear if this person had been cultivating in Tianwei all along or if he returned from overseas due to the ephemera sect. Guan spoke, "I am not LV Baden. This cave was found by my disciple first, I advise you all to leave it at that." The cultivators behind Sizong were taken aback, surprised by this person's firm attitude. And Hao grew excited and looked at Sizong provocatively. Ancestor Xingyan stepped forward, standing in front of Sizong. He scrutinized Guan, asking, "May I know your name, Taoist friend? Why not show your true face?" His divine sense couldn't penetrate Guan's mask, making him wary of Guan. But only a little. After all, he was a mystic heart realm cultivator. He had fought other mystic heart realm experts during his battles with the ephemera sect, with mixed results. As a fellow mystic heart realm cultivator, he couldn't be killed. Unless this person was as powerful as the ephemera sect hierarch at the Mahayana realm. Mahayana realm? Ancestor Xingyan didn't believe it. If there was such a powerful existence, why hadn't he heard of it before? Guan turned to Ancestor Xingyan and uttered one word, "Scram." Scram. Everyone's faces changed drastically, especially those on Sizong's side. They knew Ancestor Xingyan's background. Audacious! How dare you speak rudely to a great cultivator of the mystic heart realm? An elder scolded angrily, while Ancestor Xingyan laughed coldly. And Hao was extremely excited. As expected of his master, how domineering! Si Yener looked at Guan, feeling that his arrogance stemmed from genuine confidence. Just as Ancestor Xingyan was about to speak, Guan sighed and muttered, "Annoying." As the words fell, Guan suddenly waved his sleeve. Mana burst forth, transforming into a strong wind that swept towards Ancestor Xingyan, Sizong, and the others. His actions were too fast for anyone to react. As the strong wind passed, Ancestor Xingyan and the others turned to ashes, and their storage bags and rings fell to the ground. The cave chamber instantly fell silent. And Hao's eyes widened, and Si Yener froze, rubbing her eyes in disbelief. As series of messages appeared before Guan's eyes, indicating that killing 57 cultivators had granted him over 1,200 years of lifespan. Guan ignored Hao and Si Yener's shock, then approached the statue. The mystic heart realm dead? Si Yener muttered, beads of cold sweat forming on her forehead as she instinctively felt fear. And Hao was stunned for a while, then cheered and ran to Guan's side, excitedly saying, "Master, how are you so powerful? What is your true realm? Are you at the Mahayana realm as mentioned by the ephemera sect hierarch?" Mahayana realm. These three words made Si Yener's heart race. She could no longer think about Sizong's death, as her heart was filled with fear and anxiety. She immediately ran towards the cave's entrance. And Hao just glanced at her and didn't stop her. After Guan's earlier display, he felt incredibly confident. Even if the entire Tianwei dynasty surrounded their master and disciple duo, it would be courting death. Guan paid no attention to Hao. Seeing his master examine the statue, Hao dared not interrupt, standing obediently by the side. He looked at Guan with intense admiration in his eyes. He couldn't help but activate his spiritual power, stimulating his senses to ensure he wasn't dreaming. With such a powerful master, could he have destroyed the ephemera sect without the mountain god's intervention? Such a thought crossed Hao's mind, and his admiration for Guan deepened. Before long, Si Yener returned. It turned out she wasn't escaping but rather telling the outside cultivators to leave quickly to avoid dying because of Sizong. She quietly waited beside Hao. Hao frowned at her, and she raised her face defiantly and glared at him. At this moment, Guan raised his hand and struck the statue with a palm. Under his mana control, the statue began rotating. As the turtle statue moved, water started flowing from its base. After the statue rotated halfway, the turtle's mouth opened, and a beam of white light shot out, hitting the mountain wall. Under the watchful eyes of Hao and Si Yener, the mountain wall revealed complex and dense ancient characters, each character writhing as if it wanted to escape the wall, making the two of them widen their eyes in astonishment. The strong light shone on their faces, and it seemed like a sun was forming in their eyes, growing larger. Upon closer inspection, a mass of strong light appeared on the mountain wall where the strange words were, expanding as if a gate to an exotic world was opening. The statue suddenly raised the stone staff in its hand and lightly tapped it. The strong light ahead sharply increased, enveloping the entire cave chamber, and a rich spiritual energy rushed towards Guin and the two. Guin immediately walked towards the mountain wall, with An Hao following closely. Si Yenner gritted her teeth and followed. Within the strong light, An Hao couldn't cast spells, and even his divine sense couldn't spread out, forcing him to forge ahead. After about 10 steps, he suddenly bumped into someone and quickly stopped. Just as he was about to speak, the strong light before him faded, restoring his vision. What came into his view was a magnificent and beautiful world. They stood on a cliff, in front of boundless green mountains, with a blue sky and interwoven white clouds. Such rich spiritual energy. An Hao was drawn to the area's spiritual energy and couldn't help but take a deep breath. "What is that?" Si Yenner exclaimed, pointing to the distant forest. An Hao turned his head and followed her direction, seeing the trees swaying as if a gigantic beast was moving through them a few miles away. "This is truly blessing," a loud and ancient voice echoed through the skies. "Mayana realm." An Hao and Si Yenner's hearts raced. Guin remained calm, sensing the presence of 4 spirit beasts comparable to the unification realm, as well as a Mahayana realm remnant soul in this minor heaven and earth. The remnant soul was located within a stone statue hundreds of miles away, very weak. Guin spoke, "Go and give it a try, see if you have such blessing." Upon hearing this, An Hao immediately leaped into the forest, followed by Si Yenner. After paying her respects to Guin, "Wait for me." Si Yenner shouted, quickly disappearing into the forest. Gu and his figure vanished, crossing a distance of hundreds of miles, reaching halfway up a mountain where a stone statue identical to the one in the cave chamber stood. Chapter 154. Gathering ascenders on the hillside. A gentle breeze blew, rustling Guin's robe as he stared at the stone statue in front of him. His divine sense had already penetrated the statue, capturing the residual soul within. This residual soul looked exactly like the stone statue, representing an old man. The soul body was curled up as if in a deep sleep. Earlier, the sound was triggered by some kind of restriction that activated whenever any living being entered this cave mansion. Moreover, during his investigation, Guin discovered that there were other transmission arrays in this minor heaven and earth within the cave mansion. Including the one they came through, there were a total of 8 transmission arrays, each corresponding to different directions, which led him to speculate more about this cave mansion. A Mayana cultivator's cave mansion. Guin raised his hand, drawing out the residual soul from within the stone statue. A ball of light appeared in his palm. Taoist Star Master, Mahayana Realm 3rd Layer 0/0/0, all zeros? Did this mean Taoist Star Master was truly dead? He immediately sent his divine sense into the residual soul of Taoist Star Master, performing the soul-capturing skill to search for memories. Rumble. In the distance came earth-shaking sounds, the noises of An Hao and Si Yenner battling, entangled with a group of wooden puppets. Guin didn't turn around, focusing on soul-searching. An ancient hour later, the residual soul in Guin's hand dissipated into smoke. Taoist Star Master had indeed long perished, leaving behind a residual soul in hopes of revival or taking over a body. However, the secret technique he used to preserve his soul couldn't withstand the erosion of time. Over the long years, his soul power was completely exhausted, leaving only a soul shell with some memories. Taoist Star Master came from the 7 Stars spirit realm, regarded as the holy land of this continent. In Taoist Star Master's memories, Guin learned a terrifying truth. The demon ancestor actually originated from the 7 Stars spirit realm. Taoist Star Master and several sect mates were ordered to bring the demon ancestor out, to nurture and have him create the demon clan. Later, for unknown reasons, Taoist Star Master left the 7 Stars spirit realm, journeyed south to the sea to escape the continent, but was ambushed by other cultivators from the 7 Stars spirit realm, severely injured, and finally hid in the Tianwei to open a grotto heaven, from which he never emerged until his final moment. Guin didn't see the true form of the demon ancestor from his memories. The demon ancestor was sealed in a wooden box, deeply feared by Taoist Star Master and his sect mates. After placing the box down, they immediately left, unsealing it remotely and quickly fleeing. However, when the wooden box was unsealed, the skyrocketing demon energy left a profound impression on Taoist Starmaster. Apart from these memories, the rest were scenes of Taoist Starmaster nurturing spirit beasts within the grotto heaven. The demon ancestor being related to the Seven Stars spirit realm greatly differed from the legends Tian Yaoer had heard. Various possibilities filled Gu An's mind, but he had no desire to investigate further. Taoist Starmaster was a Mahayana cultivator, indicating the likely presence of immortals within the Seven Stars spirit realm. At this stage, he absolutely could not appear on the Seven Stars spirit realm's radar. His greatest advantage was having no grudges or enemies, allowing him to steadily grow stronger. With that thought, Guan turned around, ready to harvest the medicinal herbs here and transport a batch of heavenly treasures away. By dusk, Guan returned to the Third Medicine Valley. This afternoon's harvest extended his life by over 300,000 years. He could continue the harvesting in the future, as the grotto heaven was vast and had become a self-sustaining ecosystem, so he didn't uproot everything. How could he be short-sighted and destroy a place that could continuously extend his life just for temporary greed? The plants that could extend his life must contain spiritual power or spiritual energy, essentially ranking as heavenly treasures. The majority of plants in the grotto heaven were ordinary, and the dense spiritual energy was due to the cave mansion's restrictions that prevented leakage. And Hao and Sienna were still inside that cave mansion, making friends with the spirit beasts there, facing no danger for now. Taoist Starmaster left behind cultivation techniques and divine skills in the grotto heaven, enough for Hao and Sienna to explore for years. As soon as he returned to the pavilion, Lu Lingjun came to see him. With the door closed, Lu Lingjun sat down at the table and said, "Don't wander around every day. Today, I felt a strong divine sense coming from the outer gate city. The moment it sensed mine, it withdrew. I couldn't trace its whereabouts." "Are you saying there's a potential danger within the Supreme Sect?" Guan asked with a frown. Lu Lingjun nodded. "It should be a demon. A demon's divine sense is different from a cultivator's, and I've dealt with demons enough to see through this point." Being able to evade Lu Lingjun's probing indicated their target was also at the Mystic Heart Realm. A Mystic Heart Realm demon? Guan planned to investigate the Supreme Sect at night, at least to ensure it posed no threat to his Medicine Valley. With you here, whether the intruder is a demon or not, they surely wouldn't dare touch my Medicine Valley. In the future, the Third Medicine Valley will count on your protection. Don't worry, I will personally cultivate your medicinal herbs." Guan smiled, revealing admiration, which Lu Lingjun enjoyed. Lu Lingjun snorted, "Rest assured, unless the mountain god descends, no one can damage the Third Medicine Valley." After reaching the Mystic Heart Realm, she regained the arrogance she once had while overlooking the lower realm. She felt her path of immortal cultivation had just begun. After chatting for a while, Lu Lingjun finally revealed her true purpose. She used the reminder of the great demon in the sect as a pretext. Her real intention was to have Guan write a book with her as the protagonist, similar to the book about the Supreme Immortal Venerable. "You are a Mystic Heart Realm cultivator. If you desire, you could easily gain fame. Why would you need me to write?" Guan hesitated. He didn't expect Lu Lingjun to have this hobby. Raising her eyebrows, Lu Lingjun said, "Name your price." "You're at it again. What kind of talk is that?" "When I returned from the Taichin dynasty earlier, I sensed an 8th-rank spirit tree hidden within a certain sect. If you help me write the book, I'll steal that tree afterward. If you dare to steal, I don't dare to take it. I can use a secret technique to seal the tree. Once the turmoil subsides, you can find a place to plant it." "I don't have a place to plant it. Don't pretend. You must be hiding something. Why else would you go out so often?" "Ahem, don't slander me. Writing the book is negotiable, but don't defame me, understand?" Feeling amused by Guan's words, Lu Lingjun laughed. Yes, I won't slander you. How could you have any secrets? You are selfless and dedicated to the Supreme Sect." That's more like it. Now tell me your story so I can seek inspiration." Guwen nodded in satisfaction. Recently, with some free time, writing a book wasn't a bad idea, showcasing his calligraphy skills to the world. Lu Lingjun fell into her memories and began telling her story. One whole night passed as she spoke. At dawn, Lu Lingjun finally left Gu An's pavilion. Early morning training, Tang Yu saw this and widened his eyes, quickly averting his gaze, pretending he hadn't seen anything. The news that Lu Lingjun was an elder in the sect had already spread through the valley. Disciples kept their distance from her out of respect. Master is truly impressive, even the sect elder couldn't escape his charm. Indeed, a handsome face can bridge the gap in cultivation levels, Tang Yu thought to himself. As Lu Lingjun returned to her pavilion, Guwen overheard her conversation with the White Spirit Demon Emperor. Lu Lingjun had placed advanced restrictions on her pavilion, but they had no effect on Guwen, and their pavilions were adjacent, making it easy for him to eavesdrop. Can we really connect with other ascenders through his book? Hard to say, but it's worth a try. Pan An's reputation has spread throughout the 9 dynasties. I can't exactly announce that I'm an ascender, can I? True, though your idea is quite good. If you can unite other ascenders and form your strength, it would greatly aid your future bid for the sect leader's position. Hearing this, Guwen put down his pen, falling into deep thought. Noon, in the outer gate city. Upon the heavenly repair platform, a white-robed man arrived at the bottom of the orthographic symbol. He marveled at the sword intent contained within, his eyes filled with astonishment. Just this sword intent alone likely makes Sword Venerable Fudao invincible in the Mystic Heart realm. It's uncertain if he's reached an even higher level. The white-robed man was in awe, squatting down to touch it. Hey, don't touch randomly, or the sword intent might hurt you. A voice came from beside him. The speaker was Zuolin. Ever since Sword Venerable Fudao used Zuoyijian's sword to kill enemies, Zuoyijian had no longer come to the heavenly repair platform, staying cooped in his room, comprehending that sword. Not even his son could disturb him. Zuolin had no other means to comprehend Sword Venerable Fudao's sword intent and could only sit in silence at the heavenly repair platform. The white-robed man looked at Zuolin and asked with a smile, "Brother, how long have you been at the heavenly repair platform?" Zuolin replied, "Since these 2 characters came into being, I've been meditating here." "You seem new. First time here?" He eyed the white-robed man suspiciously. The heavenly repair platform was filled with many stories, leading him to overthink. The white-robed man laughed. "I come from the Chintang dynasty. This year, I just joined the Supreme Sect as a guest elder of the Outer Sect. My joining was inspired by Sword Venerable Fudao." Hearing this, Zuolin immediately beckoned him over, signaling him to sit beside him. The white-robed man didn't hesitate and quickly came over to sit down. Zuolin was about to speak when he suddenly saw someone, his eyes lit up, and he called out immediately, "Guwen, come over here." In the distance, Guwen wandered through the crowd, appearing idle. Hearing Zuolin's call, he hesitated for a moment but still walked towards him. The white-robed man turned his head, seeing the person Zuolin called out to be a Foundation Establishment realm cultivator, then shifted his attention away. Guwen conducted a lifespan detection on him. D. Xie, Mystic Heart Realm 3rd Layer 2450/8000/19000, a demon over 2,000 years old. The reason Guwen came to the Outer Gate City was precisely because of D. Xie. The demon who alarmed Lu Lingjun was D. Xie. D. Xie cultivated some special technique, showing no traces of demon energy on him, but his technique couldn't escape the divine sense of a Nirvana realm great cultivator. Watching Guwen approach slowly, Zuolin remarked to D. Xie, "Though my cultivation is low, I have an exquisite spirit heart. At a glance, I could tell you were exceptional." Hearing this, D. Xie's heart tensed. Chapter 155 Shattering Void. Engagement. Zuolin's words made D. Xie's expression suddenly unnatural, but what Zuolin said next left him not knowing whether to laugh or cry. "You must be a genius. I've never misjudged anyone's talent or chi fortune." Zuolin looked smug, lifting his chin and gesturing for D. Xie to look at Guwen, saying, "Don't be fooled by this kid's mere Foundation Establishment realm cultivation level. He's not simple either. In fact, my judgment has proved correct. He's now a golden list genius. Guan walked over, resignedly saying, "What sort of genius am I?" Making it onto the golden list was just good luck. Zuolin pulled Guan to sit down and then had Di Xie and Guan introduce themselves to each other. Di Xie was very composed and treated Guan quite well, showing none of the airs of a guest elder. Zuolin was very interested in Di Xie, and upon hearing that Di Xie wanted to learn about Sword Venerable Fudao, he didn't hide anything and began telling stories of Sword Venerable Fudao's exploits. Di Xie listened attentively. Before he came, he had heard that the #1 cultivator of the 9 dynasties was either the Taoist of Immortality from 3 Pure Ones Mountain or the Sword Venerable Fudao from Supreme Sect. Among them, Sword Venerable Fudao was the most mysterious. Though he had repeatedly aided the Supreme Sect, no one knew his true identity. Guan found it amusing to listen to Zuolin boast about his other identity. At the same time, he was also observing Di Xie. In the following half an hour, Guan didn't sense any malice from Di Xie and could only hold back his suspicions for the time being. A great demon calamity was imminent, and a mystic heart realm great demon had infiltrated the Supreme Sect, the purpose of which was unknown. Guan feared Di Xie might suspect him, so he took the chance to slip away. There was plenty of time to come, and he could slowly observe Di Xie since Di Xie was planning to comprehend sword intent at the heavenly repair platform. In the days to come, Guan would use his divine sense every day to observe Di Xie. The more he watched, the more he felt Di Xie might truly harbor no ill will. He just seemed to earnestly want to learn swordsmanship. Before, when Di Xie had swept the surroundings with his divine sense, he was probably just looking for Sword Venerable Fudao. Spring went and autumn came. 2 years passed in the blink of an eye. In these 2 years, Guan's lifespan had increased rapidly. Starmaster Cave had provided him with an enormous amount of lifespan. His lifespan had already broken through 6,500,000, getting ever closer to the 10 million mark. One day, Guan visited the book collection hall in the Outer Gate City and, under the name Pan An, published a new book titled Shattering Void. Lu Chang, the elder who had once taken care of Pan An, had passed away, and he was received by Feng Shang, the great elder of the book collection hall. Feng Shang was thrilled to receive Pan An for the first time, bombarding Guan with compliments and guaranteeing that he would handle the book's follow-up matters well. Only after an hour at the book collection hall did Guan manage to get away. Feng Shang was simply too enthusiastic. In Feng Shang's eyes, Guan was a tremendous opportunity. As long as he arranged Pan An's new book properly, his career would skyrocket. After leaving the book collection hall, Guan strolled around the city. As the Supreme Sect grew stronger each year, the Outer Gate City became very bustling. Every street was crowded, and even stalls appeared, selling all kinds of odd and remarkable items. In the last year, Guan had taken to wandering the city streets whenever he was free. As he walked, Guan spotted a familiar face. Du Yi. Guan approached to greet him. Both being house servants of the Ji family and having been accepted into the Supreme Sect together, their relationship was not close, but they would chat if they bumped into each other in the outer sect. Du Yi was fiddling with a small gourd at a stall. Hearing Guan's voice, he reluctantly set the gourd down, stood up, and looked at Guan. When Guan reached him, Du Yi greeted him with a smile, asking, "Are you here treasure hunting too?" Guan laughed and replied, "There aren't that many treasures to find. I'm just browsing and enjoying the buzz. How have you been lately?" 92-year-old Du Yi looked just over 40. He hadn't taken any youth-preserving pills when he was younger, unlike Guan, who appeared youthful. In the immortal cultivation world, not every cultivator seeks a youthful appearance. Some believe that maturity conveys more presence. Don't get me started. I attempted the foundation establishment recently and failed, wasting a foundation establishment pill in the process, Du Yi said gloomily. He was genuinely a low-level cultivator in the immortal cultivation world, of mediocre talent, who had to do odd jobs for young masters from significant families for cultivation resources. Guan consoled him, then took out a medicine bottle with 2 foundation establishment pills inside. Holding the medicine bottle, Du Yi hesitated. He didn't want to accept Guan's charity, but he couldn't bear to refuse. For a low-level cultivator like him, reaching the foundation establishment was a lifelong dream. Guin smiled and said, "Don't mention it. After all, we grew up together. I hope you live a few more decades. When we're old, we can reminisce about our youth." Hearing this, Yi felt a warm sensation and remembered that he had once told Guin to seek his help if he ever encountered any troubles. If there was any way he could help, he wouldn't hesitate. Half a lifetime later, Guin had never sought his help. Instead, Yi began to owe Guin favors. Yi lightly patted Guin's shoulder, no longer refusing. He put the medicine bottle into his storage bag. "By the way, I heard something recently. Our third miss has been betrothed," Yi suddenly said in a low voice. Hearing this, Guin was stunned and asked with curiosity, "Betrothed? To?" Hearing of Ji Xiaoyu's engagement, his heart couldn't help but ripple. Perhaps it was because Ji Xiaoyu had once saved him as a child. Even after growing up, Ji Xiaoyu had been kind to him, not treating him like a house servant and giving him many things to help with his cultivation. Could even such a girl of heavenly pride not escape an arranged marriage? Thinking of this, Guin felt quite emotional. Yi shook his head and said, "How would I know? But it seems that only the engagement is set, there's no date for the wedding yet. I think the young master and the others are very happy, so the other party must be quite significant. That's a given. Being able to marry into the Ji family is beyond our imagination," Guin said with a laugh. The two of them chatted for a bit more, and then Guin bid farewell to Yi. He didn't go back to Medicine Valley but continued to wander around the city. The book collection hall acted quickly, and in less than a month, Shattering Void appeared in the book collection halls of various cities. Riding on the reputation accumulated from Investiture of the Gods and Supreme Immortal Venerable, Pan An's new book caused a sensation as soon as it hit the shelves, sweeping through the Supreme Sect. A month later, the name Shattering Void had spread throughout the Taizong immortal cultivation world and started reaching the other 8 dynasties. Lu Lingjun also bought the book, and as soon as she finished reading, she went straight to Guin. "It's written quite well. The male protagonist harbors a great demon inside him that leads the way on his journey of immortal cultivation despite his mediocre talent. But," Lu Lingjun frowned as she spoke. "What but?" asked Guin. "Why is it called Shattering Void?" She stared intently at Guin, as if trying to see through him. Guin responded with a puzzled look. "Didn't you say that ascending is your pursuit in your homeland? Doesn't Shattering Void appeal to you?" Hearing this, Lu Lingjun couldn't help but nod, saying, "Indeed, it's very appealing. Then you should continue writing it well." She mocked herself internally. How could this kid have guessed that she was an ascender? Then they started discussing the book Shattering Void, and Lu Lingjun made many demands. Guin wasn't agreeable at first, but when she brought out a pile of heavenly materials and earthly treasures, he changed his tune, saying he would consider it. Lu Lingjun was amused by his greed. After Lu Lingjun left, he took out Daoist Xuanchuan and started to read. Shattering Void was only written because someone asked for it, but the classics that are truly worth appreciating are in Daoist Xuanchuan. With the release of Pan An's book, the servant disciples of Mystic Valley and the Third Medicine Valley also began discussing it, and Pan An's name proved to be more influential than Guin had imagined. Half a month later, when Guin returned to the Third Medicine Valley, he sensed LV Baitian's presence. Counting the days, it had been more than 10 years since he last saw him. Guin went to the attic to meet with the long-waiting LV Baitin. He closed the door of the room and then approached LV Baitin, raising his hand in salute. LV Baitin looked the same as he had many years ago. He gestured for Guin to sit down. After Guin took his seat, LV Baitin finally asked, "What made you think of publishing a book recently?" "It was a spur-of-the-moment thing." "Did you read it too?" replied Guin. "I did. It's not as good as Investiture." "That's true," Guin said sincerely. He believed that himself. LV Baitin changed the subject abruptly. "Is Su Han your disciple?" Upon hearing this, Guin feigned nervousness and asked, "He used to be. What about him?" LV Baitin stared at Guin and said, "He has also cultivated the defying fate divine skill." "What?" Guin was visibly shocked. He hastened to explain, I didn't teach it to him. Over these years, I haven't even seen him. Since LV Baitin had passed the defying fate divine skill to Guin, he had barely practiced it because he couldn't abandon his cultivation to start over. LV Baitin snorted and said, "Of course, I know you didn't pass it on. As a matter of fact, I didn't create the defying fate divine skill either. I also received it from someone else. I can tell you directly that defying fate divine skill comes from the ephemera sect. Now that Su-Han has also learned it, it indicates that the remnants of the ephemera sect have not been completely eradicated." Guin's eyes widened, displaying a look of disbelief. He thought of the 9 Nether 13 evil and the ghost mother of ephemera. Could it be that they had approached Su-Han? Sect leader, Guin looked at LV Bin, unsure of what to say, a mix of emotions crossing his face. He really wanted to say, "I also have an identity concerning the ephemera sect. I am the sect hierarch of the ephemera sect." LV Baitin chuckled, "Don't worry. I just have karma with the ephemera sect. I don't actually come from there. In my youth, I made a Taoist friend who was from the ephemera sect. Before she died, she passed the defying fate divine skill on to me. It is because of this skill that I could achieve what I have. Don't talk about this past to anyone. If you do, I surely won't be able to hold onto my position as sect leader. Ever since the Supreme Elders returned, my position has become increasingly unstable." He concluded with a self-deprecating laugh. Guin immediately responded, "Of course, I won't speak of it as long as you don't harm the interests of the Supreme Sect." LV Baitin glared at him, feigning annoyance, but he was inwardly very pleased. He's truly worthy of being the sect leader I picked. Following that, LV Baitin said, "Su-Han has learned the hateful heaven divine sword and inherited the defying fate divine skill. His progress will be rapid from now on. How close are you with him? If you're close, be cautious. It's clear that Su-Han has a mastermind behind him. I'm afraid that person will come after you to make Su-Han hate this world even more." Chapter 156 Innate Divine Skills Persecuting Me? Guin almost laughed. Whoever wanted to persecute him must have had a death wish. With his ability to foresee potential threats, he could detect anyone who harbored hostility towards his true self at the first moment. At least for now, no one bore him ill will. Guin usually acted kindly towards others, making it hard for anyone to hold a grudge against him. Apart from the Supreme Sect, not many people knew him. Faced with LV Baitin's scrutiny, Guin frowned and pondered, "I can't say for sure. I treated him quite well, but back when the Sword Sect was hunting him down, I advised him to abandon the hateful heaven divine sword. Maybe he holds some resentment towards me because of that." LV Baitin nodded and said, "Having some resentment is good. At least you won't become his weak point. But you should still pray he doesn't hate you. Otherwise, if he grows stronger, you'll be in trouble." His tone became teasing towards the end. Guin shrugged and said, "I believe the Supreme Sect will protect me. If I encounter danger here, then there must be a serious issue with the Supreme Sect." "You cheeky brat, you're mocking me, aren't you?" "Not at all. I trust you, sect leader, so please don't make fun of me. As a minor cultivator, I don't want to get involved in bigger troubles. Nothing to do with the ephemera sect or the hateful heaven divine sword. I'd prefer it that way." Guin said helplessly. Seeing his expression, LV Baitin suddenly felt ashamed, thinking he shouldn't have teased him. Guin didn't possess the cultivation level of the Unification Realm's 9th layer. Facing the threat of the hateful heaven divine sword, he must have been very afraid, but was just putting up a brave front. With that thought, LV Baitin's face turned serious, and he said, "As long as you stay within the Supreme Sect, nothing will happen to you. At least here, I can ensure your safety." Obviously, he was hinting at Guin about going to Tianya Valley. Although LV Baitin didn't know where Tianya Valley was, he knew that Guin frequently left Mystic Valley, but he never asked about it. LV Baitin started talking about Li Xiandao. The Taitsong dynasty's offensive was swift and fierce, opening no fewer than 5 battlefields in collaboration with the Great Yu dynasty. The neighboring dynasty was about to collapse. LV Baitin indeed didn't like Li Xiandao, But he had to admit that Li Xiandao was very skilled in employing people, always managing to find geniuses or capable generals. From Gu An's point of view, he hoped Li Xiandao could unify the 9 dynasties. Unity would better resist the demon disaster. After unification, order could be established, and the world would be peaceful for the right path. Peace in the world would also help him survive. For the lower-level cultivators, peace was also a good thing. There might be fewer opportunities, but how many lower-level cultivators could turn their fate with an opportunity? Cultivators who turned their fate with opportunities were far fewer than those who died in conflicts. The two talked for a long time, until evening, before LV Baiyin finally left. Guan couldn't help but feel that LV Baiyin had lost some of his sharpness from years ago. Starmaster Cave. Guan, masked, appeared on a cliff, his divine sense sweeping over to see and how staying in a cave. Inside the cave was a pool filled with blood-colored water, wherein Hao was practicing, his chi blood continually increasing. Si Yenner was in the forest, practicing her step technique. After spending 2 years in this grotto heaven, both Hao and Si Yenner had received various inheritances, rapidly improving their skills. It would take many years for them to fully inherit Taoist Starmaster's legacy. After all, Taoist Starmaster was in the Mahayana realm, and his lifetime legacy was extremely vast. Even though Hao had matchless talent, it would take a lot of time to absorb it all. Guan just glanced at them, then went to pick the celestial treasures in the forest. His aura was hidden, unnoticed by the spirit beasts within the grotto heaven. These Unification Realm spirit beasts were very gentle and had formed good relations with Hao and Si Yenner, but to avoid unnecessary trouble, Guan still acted quietly. After an hour, Guan left, satisfied. This trip had gained him 50,000 years of lifespan. Since no one cultivated the treasures in Starmaster Cave, Guan also didn't want to do so, fearing that people from the 7 Stars spirit realm might come after him. He could only patiently wait for the celestial treasures in this grotto heaven to grow naturally. That's why he picked only a small amount every time, leaving half behind to self-reproduce. He quickly arrived at Nianchu Cave. One night last month, with Gu An's protection, Tian Yaoer successfully crossed her tribulation and entered the core formation realm. She had been consolidating her cultivation ever since. Landing on the ground, Guan sensed that her demonic power had stabilized, which indicated that she had consolidated her cultivation. He deliberately made footsteps as he walked towards a garden area. Tian Yaoer pushed the door open and, like a gust of wind, came to Gu An's side, directly hugging his left arm, excitedly saying, "Master, my demon core has fully formed, and I've even comprehended a divine skill." Feeling the softness from his left arm, Guan marveled internally. A demon was indeed a demon. She appeared very slim, yet her figure was astonishing. He naturally withdrew his arm and walked a few steps forward, squatting down to pick medicinal herbs, while asking, "What kind of divine skill?" Tian Yaoer came to his side, bending at the waist, hands on her knees, and smiled sweetly, "A transformation divine skill. I'm very powerful now." As soon as she finished speaking, a wave of demon energy spread from her body, covering her figure. Guan turned his head to look. As the demon energy dissipated, Tian Yaoer had transformed into his exact image, her aura indistinguishable from his, with no trace of demon energy. This surprised him. This divine skill was not bad. Guan placed the harvested medicinal herbs into his storage bag, stood up, and curiously asked, "Can you teach me this divine skill?" Tian Yaoer shook her head and said, "I wish I could, but there's no mental method or incantation for it. This divine skill seems to come naturally to me, like speaking. It's very easy for me to use, but I don't know how to teach it." She transformed back into her previous appearance, demon energy swirling, and clutched Gu An's mask. Guan took a step back and Tian Yaoer, in red, placed her hands on her hips and laughed proudly, "Master, how is it? Isn't my divine skill amazing?" Her bright eyes turned into 2 crescent moons with joy, making Guan unable to resist reaching out to pat her head, ruffling her hair. After praising Tian Yaoer a few times, Guan had her return to her cultivation. Gu-en rarely visited, so Tian Yaoer didn't want to cultivate and instead stayed by his side, chattering incessantly about trivial matters, like a crooked flower or bumping into a tree while practicing the limitless freedom step. She could only stay in Nianchu Cave, with no contact with other demon creatures, so if it were Gu-en he wouldn't have so much to talk about. Gu-en didn't get annoyed. On the contrary, he listened attentively, occasionally responding, which made Tian Yaoer even happier. For a long while, Tian Yaoer followed Gu-en to a stone table, where he took out bottles of elixirs for her cultivation, instructing her on how to take them. Once you master the limitless freedom step, I can take you out for a walk. Gu-en looked at Tian Yaoer and said seriously. Having stayed in Nianchu Cave for so many years, Tian Yaoer never requested to go out. Her attitude towards the medicinal herbs was very serious too. At least Gu-en couldn't find any fault in her. Gu-en had already accepted Tian Yaoer, no longer seeing her as a mere demon slave. Tian Yaoer wasn't too excited. Instead, she pouted and said, "The limitless freedom step is too hard. Who knows how many years I'll need to master it?" Even the Heaven Phoenix Demon Mother didn't achieve her power in just a few decades. The strong beings in this world have all endured long, lonely years before they could act as they pleased. Gu-en said earnestly. Tian Yaoer nodded and said, "I understand, I'll definitely work hard in my cultivation." Gu-en noticed that she no longer kept talking about revenge. He wondered if she kept it in her heart or had given up on the idea. He didn't leave immediately but sat down and started explaining the primordial earth immortal skill to Tian Yaoer. The core formation was just the beginning. Tian Yaoer still had a long way to go. If he could nurture a peerless great demon, Gu-en would certainly feel a sense of accomplishment. Tian Yaoer's ultimate lifespan was 18,000 years, meaning she would be with Gu-en for the longest time. Perhaps to avoid loneliness in the future, Gu-en's teachings to Tian Yaoer were no less than his instructions to Enhao. Dark clouds covered the sky, the mountainous terrain undulated unevenly, and as far as the eye could see, the hills and valleys were sparse with vegetation. Most of the trees were withered, stripped of their leaves. Desolate, silent. Two figures walked through the mountains, one of them being Gu-en's disciple Su Han. After decades, Su Han had undergone a complete transformation. He wore black, carried a bone sword, and had a red string tied around his forehead and knotted at the back, casually binding his black hair. His eyebrows exuded malevolence, with a cold, indifferent gaze. Ahead of Su Han walked a frail old man, turning back repeatedly with obsequious smiles. "Sir, up ahead is the habitat of the holy beast Sky Dragon. Although this Sky Dragon is under 100 years old, it has a peculiar temper, so you must be careful," the frail old man warned. Su Han looked forward, where amidst the darkness, a massive mountain faintly appeared, intermittently echoing with shrill cries, making the place daunting and terrifying. He ordered, "You go attract it first, I'll follow soon." The frail old man's face turned pale upon hearing this, quickly waving his hands. "With my cultivation level, I'm afraid." Su Han's eyes turned cold, making the old man shiver, and he hastily agreed, flying ahead and quickly disappearing into the darkness. Not long after, a dragon roar erupted from ahead, shaking the heavens and earth. Su Han then took down the bone sword from his back, with terrifying black energy seeping from his orifices, making him appear as if possessed by a demon. Who dares trespass the forbidden grounds of the ancient sky sect? A furious, elderly shout came, and a gray-robed burly man suddenly flew over the mountain peak, attacking Su Han. Su Han, with his back to him, did not turn around. He continued walking forward with his sword. At that moment, a ghostly figure appeared behind him, swinging its palm to gather terrifying ghost energy into a massive black wing. The gray-robed burly man's face changed drastically, using his spiritual power to resist, but he was still sent flying by the attack. "I advise you to pretend you saw nothing, or it would be a pity if you were to die." An icy female voice came from the mysterious ghostly figure. If Gu-en were here, he would definitely recognize the voice. Ghost Mother of Ephemera. Chapter 157 Different Paths, Downfall Late at Night. Deep underground in the Mystic Valley, inside the 8 Sina caves, Guwen was sitting under a green vine tree reading a book, leaning against the main trunk, with 2 tree vines gently massaging his shoulders. He suddenly put down the book and sat up straight. "What's wrong, Master? Was the pressure too much?" The green vine tree emitted a weak, pitiful female voice. Guwen replied, "No, I just have something to attend to. I need to leave." The green vine tree trembled, quickly saying, "Master, don't forget to bring some lamb meat next time." Guwen waved his hand and then disappeared from the spot. He took a step out of the Supreme Sect's boundaries and arrived at the top of a mountain. It was late autumn. The night wind was chilly, fluttering his robe. He gazed into the distance. He felt that the Sky Dragon was in trouble. Although he and the Sky Dragon hadn't formed a contract, ever since the Sky Dragon was born, they established a subtle connection. This connection was similar to the feeling when Sage Xian Miao summoned him. He extended his divine sense along this subtle connection. Soon he locked onto a certain sect. His divine sense pierced through layers of restrictions and entered a minor heaven and earth similar to the Starmaster Cave. The Ghost Mother of Ephemera and the 9 Nether 13 Evil. These guys were fighting with great cultivators of the ancient Sky Sect. Gu and his divine sense locked onto the Sky Dragon, his expression becoming strange. The person fighting with the Sky Dragon was surprisingly Su Han. Su Han's aura had already approached the nascent soul realm, but his aura was very chaotic, giving the impression that he could deviate at any moment. The Sky Dragon, although lazy and not much of a cultivator, relied on its powerful bloodline talent. Su Han couldn't take it down quickly. The 20 Zhanglong Sky Dragon twisted its body, occasionally spewing scorching flames. Su Han's figure was ghostly, skillfully dodging, and occasionally swinging his sword, sending sword chi slashing at the Sky Dragon, causing its dragon blood to splatter continuously. In his other hand, Su Han held a cloth bag, collecting the Sky Dragon's blood. After a moment of hesitation, Guwen decided to intervene. In the dim heavens and earth, the Sky Dragon was fleeing through the mountains and wilds, with Su Han wielding a bone sword, relentlessly pursuing. "Damn it! For you really? I will never forgive you in the future." The Sky Dragon roared, shaking the mountain forests, its voice still childish, like that of a young boy. Su Han's cold voice came from behind, "Hateful heaven divine sword, Su Han." The Sky Dragon's eyes narrowed, clearly having heard of the hateful heaven divine sword, showing fear in its eyes. It ran even faster, twisting its body like an eel. Su Han leaped into the air, flying high, and slashed down. The sword chi was immense, condensing into 7 sword shadows, attacking the Sky Dragon. Each sword shadow's tail had several ghosts, as if evil spirits were pushing the swords, terrifying under the night sky. A dark purple demonic shadow appeared out of nowhere on the Sky Dragon's head, grabbing and dispersing Su Han's sword chi in midair. Su Han's eyes widened. It was him. Su Han couldn't forget the mysterious demonic shadow that killed his master, Zhong Liang, recognizing it at a glance. Boom! A terrifying divine sense instantly struck his mind, causing him to faint immediately, falling into the mountain forests. The Sky Dragon also suffered a divine sense attack, instantly falling unconscious, its massive body crashing down, kicking up clouds of dust. Guwen appeared before Su Han, who lay on the grass, life or death uncertain. At this moment, the Ghost Mother of Ephemera suddenly appeared before Su Han, half kneeling, clasping her hands in apology. "Please forgive me, Sect Hierarch. We did not know the Sky Dragon was connected to you." The ghostly energy around her dissipated, revealing a pale female face. Her gaze towards Guwen was filled with joy. Guwen coldly asked, "Are you the Ghost Mother of Ephemera?" Although he had seen the Ghost Mother of Ephemera before, Sword Venerable Fudao had not, so he had to ask. "I am indeed the Ghost Mother of Ephemera." The Ghost Mother of Ephemera respectfully answered. Guwen continued, "The ancient Sky Sect is also under my protection. The Sky Dragon is the holy beast of the ancient Sky Sect. You are not allowed to seize it." By saying this, he indicated that he intervened for the sake of the ancient sky sect, not for the sky dragon. Upon hearing this, the ghost mother of Ephemera cautiously asked, "Why do you protect both sects?" Guin countered, "The Ephemera sect is already destroyed. Why don't you return to the Nine Nether Road?" The ghost mother of Ephemera replied helplessly, "We indeed wish to return, but the path back on the Nine Nether Road has been blocked by cultivators of the Seven Stars Spirit Realm. We can only escape back." The Seven Stars Spirit Realm? Hearing this, Guin became more certain that the demonic catastrophe was being driven by the Seven Stars Spirit Realm. "Is this young man your disciple?" Guin asked. The ghost mother of Ephemera looked at Guin, shrouded in demonic energy, hesitated for a moment, then said, "He is not my disciple, just a pawn. With the impending demonic catastrophe, I wanted to cultivate him to become my strength to break through the Nine Nether Road." Using Su-Han to fight against the cultivators of the Seven Stars Spirit Realm within the Nine Nether Road? Guin couldn't help but feel pity for Su-Han, but he had no intention of saving him. Su-Han's desire for power had become an obsession. Even without the ghost mother of Ephemera, he would still go astray. In Su-Han's eyes, he wasn't committing evil, but merely striving to become stronger. Guin didn't personally eliminate Su-Han because he had not heard of Su-Han slaughtering innocent civilians. Those who died at Su-Han's hands were indeed many, but they were all people with grudges against him. Most of them wanted to remove the hateful Heaven Divine Sword but were instead killed by him. The hateful Heaven Divine Sword was Su-Han's ancestral swordsmanship, so he and Guin were not true master and disciple. Guin merely provided him with some elixirs. Past ties of master and disciple had been severed. Su-Han's life or death was no longer related to Guin. Guin mainly wanted to see Su-Han's fate. Su-Han, who had mastered the defying fate divine skill, could devour the spiritual power of other cultivators. To some extent, it was similar to Guin's ability to seize lifespan. But Su-Han's path was completely different from Guin's. Wherever this young man went, he fought, and his fierce reputation spread far and wide. The ghost mother of Ephemera revealed the effects of the defying fate divine skill, which were exactly the same as those known to Guin, with no exaggeration. From the ghost mother of Ephemera's perspective, she naturally didn't know Sword Venerable Fudao knew the defying fate divine skill, so she spoke frankly. Perhaps she genuinely wanted to make Guin the sect hierarch of the Ephemera sect. In the land we come from, the Ephemera sect has stood for tens of thousands of years. The spiritual energy there far surpasses that of the 9 dynasties. Although the Ephemera sect has been destroyed by the mountain god, it was the traitors who defected to butcher immortal Jing who were wiped out. Our sect's orthodox disciples still remain. If you return with me, in at most 1,000 years, the Ephemera sect can restore its former glory. The ghost mother of Ephemera said earnestly. Guin asked, "Is it just because I know the Taitsong divine shocking sword? Aren't you afraid it'll sacrifice you all, like the actions of the Ephemera sect?" Knowing the Taitsong divine shocking sword is one reason. I have stayed in the Supreme Sect for many years and learned about your deeds. Your ability to inscribe the words righteous path on the heavenly repair platform speaks to your character. If you are willing to lead the Ephemera sect, you can certainly guide it towards the right path. The Ephemera tree may be an evil entity, but the Ephemera sect was originally founded by subduing this tree to save lives and thus established its Taoist tradition. As she spoke, she raised her right hand, and a token appeared in her hand. This is the token of the sect hierarch of the Ephemera sect. The deceased hierarch had always been searching for this token, not knowing it was in my possession. This token can find all members of the Ephemera sect and locate the hidden inheritance of true disciples. Guin extended his hand, his divine sense entering the token. He sensed a powerful restriction, which could not be broken by anyone below the Mahayana realm. Of course, this restriction was formidable to others, but it was as if non-existent before him. As his divine sense entered the token, he felt as if he was overlooking the land. He saw a chaotic, dim world with only landforms, no flowers or living beings. Through the scenes within the token, He could see the positions of other ephemera sect cultivators. Apart from this, the token had many other functions with numerous restrictions that intrigued Guan. He retracted his divine sense and said, "I'll temporarily hold onto this token. In the future, treat the token as though it's me." Upon hearing this, the ghost mother of ephemera was overjoyed and quickly bowed to thank Guan and then disappeared from the spot. The ghost mother of ephemera immediately stood up and left with Su Han. As for the distant sky dragon, she dared not touch it again. Late autumn in the Mystic Valley. Guan watched his disciples sweep away the fallen leaves in various gardens while his divine sense was focused on the distance, observing the decisive battle between the Taizong dynasty and the Hanlu dynasty. LV Xian and Wu Ju were also participating, showcasing their prowess. They were already close to reaching the Hanlu dynasty's imperial city. Guan's focus was mainly on Yi Yan. Yi Yan was also from the Mystic Valley and had been guided in spear techniques and body tempering methods by Luo Hun and Zhou Tongyu. After building his foundation, he joined the army. Decades had passed. Yi Yan was now a general of the Taizong dynasty with illustrious military achievements. Although not yet in the core formation realm, his strength on the battlefield was formidable. After all, most soldiers were below the core formation realm. Those who reached it typically transcended the dynasty's constraints, seeking their own immortal path. Watching the battlefield, Guan felt like he was witnessing the investiture of the gods. Both sides had sex cultivators charging into battle, casting spells. The losing side would be overwhelmed by the army, retreating step by step. Just as he was engrossed, Zhen Qin flew over on her sword and landed beside Guan. She whispered, "Master, senior brother Su Han has been wanted by the ancient sky sect." Guan nonchalantly said, "I've told you, he's not your senior brother." Zhen Qin pouted, "He might not be my senior brother to outsiders, but we grew up together. How can I completely sever ties with him? Telling me won't help. What can I do?" "Master, I'm just feeling anxious and wanted to talk to you." Zhen Qin glared at him. Guan glanced at her, smiling, "Don't worry about him. He's survived many years of being hunted. Instead of worrying about him, you should worry about yourself. You seem to encounter more danger than him." He referred to the time Zhen Qin was saved by sage Xian Miao from the law enforcement hall disciples. Although she didn't mention the existence of the mountain god, Yi Lan knew about her perilous experience and had informed Guan. Just as Zhen Qin was about to retort, she suddenly sensed something and took out her disciple token from her storage bag. Guan did the same, taking out his Valley Master token and inserted his divine sense. Immediately, he heard the voice of Guzong. Supreme Elder Kusong investigated the demon land and unfortunately perished. In 3 days, all disciples must gather in the affiliated city to pay respect to the ancestor. Chapter 158. Jiang Qiong returns, a hand in the night ancestor Kusong died? Guan heard Guzong's words and felt a bit dazed. Although he wasn't very close friends with ancestor Kusong, they had pleasant conversations whenever they were at the inner sect book collection hall. Hearing the news of ancestor Kusong's demise gave him an indescribable feeling. The Supreme Elder has fallen. If I recall correctly, ancestor Kusong was at the Mystic Heart Realm, right? Zhen Qin frowned and said, "When the ephemera sect attacked back then, ancestor Kusong fought against Venerable Qi Qian, spreading his Dao name throughout the Supreme Sect. He had become the second most renowned great cultivator in the Supreme Sect, only next to Sword Venerable Fu Dao." Even Zhen Qin, who had no interaction with ancestor Kusong, felt sad upon hearing his demise. Guan looked up to the sky. He saw dark clouds, indicating that a storm was about to come. Ancestor Kusong's death shocked the entire Supreme Sect, and the news quickly spread through the immortal cultivation world. 3 days later, Guan arrived at Inner Sect City as scheduled to attend ancestor Kusong's memorial service. Tens of thousands of disciples in the city mourned. Listening to the sect elders recount ancestor Kusong's life achievements, even newly inducted disciples felt sorrow. After recounting ancestor Kusong's life, The supreme sect also disclosed for the first time the impending great calamity of demons that would erupt decades later, causing an uproar among the cities. In the days that followed, various sects under the Taizong dynasty also announced this matter. The peace of the immortal cultivation world was once again shattered, and all cultivators felt a sense of crisis. A mystic heart realm cultivator has already fallen. This calamity is far more terrifying than the previous ephemeris sect turmoil. Autumn faded into winter. Winter's snow gradually covered Mystic Valley. On this day, Guin waited early at the Mystic Valley Pavilion because he felt a familiar aura approaching. Late at night, a figure appeared outside Guan's window. Guin went to open the window and let the visitor in. It was a white-robed woman wearing a bamboo hat. After entering, she took off the hat and looked back at Guin, who was setting up a restriction. She smiled and asked, "Did you miss me, obedient disciple?" After finishing the restriction, Guin turned around and curiously asked, "Where have you been all these years? Are you all right?" He cast a lifespan detection spell on Jiang Qiong. Jiang Qiong, Nascent Soul Realm Level 6 243/700/5490 5,490 years of maximum lifespan. Guin remembered that Jiang Qiong's maximum lifespan was around 2,400 years. It seems there were great opportunities on the Nine Nether Road. Jiang Qiong smiled and said, "I went to a mysterious place and got great opportunities. How could your martial master not fare well?" Seeing Guan's concerned expression warmed Jiang Qiong's heart. Someone still thought of her in this world. Guin invited Jiang Qiong to sit down first and then started brewing tea. "Disciple, how have you been these years?" Jiang Qiong asked, her gaze sweeping over the room's decor. With his back to her, Guin replied, "As usual, growing flowers and herbs, reading books. Oh, and in the last Golden List tournament, I ranked among the top 500, thanks to the magic artifact bestowed by my sect seniors." Talking about the Golden List tournament, he felt proud and intentionally boasted to Jiang Qiong. In the past, Jiang Qiong might have been surprised, but after experiencing the ephemera sect turmoil and traveling the Nine Nether Road, her perspective had changed drastically. Facing Guan's boasting, she found it amusing while also feeling gratified. Seeing him living well made her happy. After Guin finished speaking, he carried some hot tea to the table. As he sat down, he poured tea while asking, "And you? Can you share a bit?" Jiang Qiong smiled and said, "I offended a significant figure and have to hide in the 8 scenic caves for a while. Are you sure you want to know?" Upon hearing this, Guin immediately shook his head and said, "Then forget it. If you need to hide, just hide. I certainly won't betray you." In the past, Jiang Qiong had taught him many things, and the 8 scenic caves belonged to her, so sheltering her was only natural. More importantly, Guin already knew who was hunting Jiang Qiong. Before going to the Ancient Sky sect, Guin detected Jiang Qiong's presence during a divine sense probe. He accepted the sect hierarch token from the ephemera sect to give it to Jiang Qiong later. Just in time, Jiang Qiong had ambitions. 2 great cultivators in the Void Crossing realm were chasing Jiang Qiong, but they had lost her trail and were now wandering in the Great Yu dynasty. Hearing Guan's words, Jiang Qiong smiled, raised her hand, and produced a white jade bottle. She said, "The spirit juice inside is good stuff. Drink a mouthful each month, no more, to avoid chi blood disruption. This juice can enhance your root bone quality." "How can I take this?" "You should keep it for yourself. I've already consumed a lot. This is the leftover, and it no longer benefits me. You keep it, no refusals." With a stern face, Jiang Qiong said this. Hearing her words, Guin had no option but to accept. After chatting for an hour, they moved to the 8 scenic caves. Guin revealed that the green vine tree had developed spiritual wisdom, but Jiang Qiong was nonchalant, stating that the green vine tree in the Thousand Autumn Pavilion also had spiritual intelligence. Earlier, while in the pavilion, Guin had already messaged the green vine tree, instructing it on what could be said and what should be kept secret. Back in the 8 scenic caves, Jiang Qiong sensed the spiritual energy was denser than before, making her very pleased with Guin. "Disciple, the Thousand Autumn Pavilion has disbanded, and my kin have all perished. From now on, I will depend on you. You won't mind, will you? Jiang Qiong rested her hand on Gu In's shoulder with a smile. Gu In stepped to the side and said, "Why would I mind? I even want to learn formations from you." He then went to the green vine tree and dug out the divine power collection of the Ji family, handing it to Jiang Qiong. Jiang Qiong had robbed this item during a banquet at the Ji family. It recorded the Heaven and Earth Path Gang divine skills. Gu In had already mastered the Heaven and Earth Path Gang and upgraded it to Taoist Gang Primal Energy. Now, even if caught off guard, it would be hard for enemies of the same rank to kill him instantly. The Taoist Gang Primal Energy could autonomously protect his body. Looking at the divine power collection in her hands, Jiang Qiong felt mixed emotions. For some reason, her mood was quite complicated. Seeing her expression, Gu In felt uneasy. Don't tell me she's moved? He immediately found an excuse and left. Watching his departing figure, Jiang Qiong sighed and thought, this kid is really foolish. He didn't even research it thoroughly. She could sense that the restriction on the divine power collection was intact, so she assumed Gu In hadn't touched it. Such foolishness would surely lead to trouble someday. She needed to teach him. Jiang Qiong's return didn't change Gu In's life. Every 7 days, he would visit the 8 scenic caves, bringing along various medicinal herbs for her, asking her not to pick any, leaving that task to him. Jiang Qiong, aware of his habits, behaved accordingly upon returning to the 8 scenic caves. Since Gu In had prepared the herbs, why should she bother? Due to Ancestor Quzong's death, the atmosphere in the Supreme Sect was colder than in previous winters. At the year's end, a major event occurred. The Hanlu dynasty surrendered. Thus, the Taizong dynasty annexed the Hanlu dynasty, breaking the millennial 9 dynasty balance. Li Xuando's prestige soared, with even the outer sect of the Supreme Sect discussing him. If he truly united the world, his name would be engraved in history. Gu In heard in the outer sect that Li Xiandao had begun deploying troops against the Wuzhen dynasty. This time, there were no public objections, but rather praises for Li Xiandao. Rumor had it that the Tianwei dynasty in the distant land also waged war, with the current emperor harboring ambitions no less than Li Xuando's. Significantly, Ancestor Xingyan's death hadn't spread, and Tianwei made no inquiries with the Supreme Sect about Xizong's death, clearly determined to swallow this loss. These matters were irrelevant to Gu In. He simply listened for entertainment. With the new year, Yi Lan and Zhen Qin came to spend the festival with Gu In. Gu In divided the spirit juice given by Jiang Qiong into 3 portions, giving them to Yi Lan, Zhen Qin, and Xiaochuan individually, asking them not to tell anyone. Right after the Spring Festival, the Supreme Sect began recruiting disciples to explore the Demon Land. Facing the inevitable calamity, the Supreme Sect didn't want to sit idle, so they offered generous rewards to attract disciples for reconnaissance. Some disciples nearing their lives' end or faced with cultivation obstacles eagerly applied, but Gu In instructed Yi Lan and Zhen Qin not to participate. Thankfully they listened. In the following years, news about demons frequently reached the Supreme Sect. Demons increased across the 9 dynasties, clearly a precursor to the demon calamity. Time flew like a white steed's shadow passing a crevice. 2 years later, during late autumn, in a mountain forest under the night sky, Di Xie walked. He stopped as black crows flew out from the darkness ahead. These crows swept past Di Xie, settled on a large tree behind him, and coalesced into a figure, dark and eerie, with no clear features. "The Emperor is looking for you. Won't you return?" the mysterious figure asked. "Isn't the southward movement inevitable?" Di Xie's tone was full of sarcasm. "Why do you resist the Emperor's plan?" the mysterious figure asked in a deep voice. Di Xie mocked, "This world isn't big enough? Even in the demon lands, there are countless hills beyond his control. Why push humanity to extinction?" The mysterious figure snorted, "Demons and humans cannot coexist. Eradicating humans is the only way to ensure our safety. But humans exist overseas. When will the killing end? I think he's been influenced by the Demon Master." "Don't speak ill of the Demon Master. Anyway, I want return. I'll train at the Supreme Sect." Don't seek me out again. If Sword Venerable Fudao discovers you, even if you die, I won't lift a finger." With these words, Di Xie left. The mysterious figure coldly said, "Sword Venerable Fudao? Ancestor Kusong of the Supreme Sect died by my hand. If I encounter Sword Venerable Fudao, I'll ensure he meets the same fate, boiled into broth." Di Xie continued without turning back and disappeared into the darkness. The mysterious figure snorted, then transformed into black crows and flew north. The crows flew swiftly, leaving the Taizong dynasty behind in no time. An hour later, they flew over the North Sea mountain and arrived at the forest of the Taichen dynasty. The crows landed by a small river, reformed into a figure. This time, he showed his true form, a crow-headed humanoid covered in black feathers, wings folding back as he squatted and plunged his hands into the river water. The night was chilly, and the river's surface glimmered. A hand suddenly pressed on his shoulder, freezing his expression. Chapter 159 Demon Clan's Momentum. Taoist Lord. Since ancestor Kusong perished, with the demon calamity approaching, Guan used his divine sense every night to inspect the lands of the 9 dynasties, to prevent enemies from sneaking in. That night, he happened to see Di Xie leaving the Supreme Sect, so he used his divine sense to follow, and then saw Di Xie meeting a demon. When Guan heard the demon say it was he who killed ancestor Kusong, Guan was filled with killing intent. He must avenge ancestor Kusong. After all, ancestor Kusong counted as an ancient friend of Guan. He didn't make a move directly but waited until the demon left the Taizong dynasty before acting. The Black Crow demon envoy stopped by the riverside, intending to rest and infuse his demonic power into the river, marking this land through the water. Before his demonic power could probe into the river, a hand fell on his shoulder. He had never experienced such a thing. Even in the demon land, no demon could approach him silently. He instinctively wanted to evade, but an unimaginable pressure pinned him down, rendering him immobile. Terror showed on his crow-like face. He glanced sideways, barely seeing a shadowy figure. Guan originally wanted to mock him, but seeing he was already scared half to death, it felt pointless. He then used his divine sense to assault his soul. Soul-capturing skill. The night was silent, with only the faint sound of flowing river water echoing. The moon set, the sun rose, the brilliant sun climbed from behind the eastern mountains, its rays piercing the sky, shining on Guan and the Black Crow demon. Under the sunlight, Guan, exhibiting his 9 extremes yin-yang body, appeared ghostly, while the Black Crow demon in front of him had turned white-eyed, his body twitching slightly. After 2 full hours, Guan retracted his divine sense, then removed the storage bag and storage ring from the Black Crow demon, and used Taiching True Fire to burn his flesh body. A few heartbeats later, the Black Crow demon perished, his soul disintegrated, leaving only the demon core and mystic heart, which Guan collected into his storage bag. You successfully seized 380 years of lifespan from the Black Crow demon envoy, 8th layer of Mystic Heart Realm. Guan then disappeared from the scene. At noon, in the 3rd Medicine Valley, Guan walked down from the transmission array platform, heading towards the distant gardens. Along the way, the servant disciples he encountered greeted him warmly and saluted him. Now, the number of servant disciples in the 3rd Medicine Valley had reached 400. Guan did not overly covet natural treasures, and together with earnest planting, the production of medicinal herbs in the 3rd Medicine Valley was very impressive. Even compared to the inner sect's Medicine Valley, the 3rd Medicine Valley's harvest handed over to the sect each year ranked in the top 3. Thanks to this achievement, the sect was increasingly satisfied with him, continuously assigning more servant disciples. Along the way, Guan spotted an Exen who was sweeping the ground. He immediately waved his hand, beckoning her to come over. Upon seeing this, an Exen quickly walked over and saluted upon reaching him. Having stayed in the 3rd Medicine Valley for so many years, an Exen had successfully entered the Foundation Establishment realm, thanks to the elixirs secretly given by Guan. She was very grateful to Guan. Back then, both an Hao and an Exen apprenticed under Guan simultaneously for cultivation, now and how had reached the third layer of the nascent soul realm, while an Exen was only at the first layer of the foundation establishment realm. Even Guin couldn't help but sigh at the unfairness of the heavens. "Accompany me for a walk," Guin said. An Exen naturally had no objections and followed him step by step. During the harvest, Guin occasionally explained to her how to cultivate high-rank medicinal herbs, and she listened attentively. Nowadays, she was also very interested in medicinal herb cultivation. After about an hour, Guin took out a secret book and handed it to an Exen. "This skill can hopefully enhance your aptitude. Don't let anyone discover it," Guin whispered, then glanced warily into the distance. Receiving the secret book, an Exen immediately beamed and said, "Thank you, Master." After so many years, she had completely trusted Guin, referring to him as Master, just like other servant disciples, but differently compared to others. In her heart, Guin had become her true master, second only to the mysterious master who once saved her. Guin patted her head, gesturing for her to continue her work. An Exen immediately saluted and turned to leave. Watching her back, Guin wore a smile on his face. He hoped that the primordial reincarnation skill could help an Exen. Even if it didn't transform her, just letting her live a few more years would be a good thing. Life in the Third Medicine Valley was not dull. Guin had already built a book collection hall, a tavern, and even bought some equipment for the loft area for the disciples to enjoy. He also created chess, which became popular in the Third Medicine Valley. After that, Guin flew towards the intersect city, having just avenged ancestor Kusong. He wanted to chat with Elder Su Lu of the Inner Sects Book Collection Hall. Of course, he wouldn't tell Su Lu what happened this morning. He simply wanted to talk with Su Lu. He saw the tragic end of ancestor Kusong in the memories of the Black Crow Demon Envoy, which made him feel depressed. At Heavenly Phoenix Mountain, in Yenchu Cave, Tian Yao was curiously watching Guin plant a tree. The tree was already 2 zhang tall, its leaves crimson, with long vines growing from it, making it look like a tree ablaze with flames. This was a 7th-tier spirit tree, the sun-nurturing tree, which Guin had moved from the Starmaster Cave. It was considered a sapling, for the sun-nurturing trees in the Starmaster Cave were 1,000 zhang tall, bearing sun-nurturing fruits that could enhance qi and blood, and even the perception of fire-attributed spiritual energy. After finishing the planting, Guin satisfactorily inspected the sun-nurturing tree. He turned and patted Tian Yao's forehead, snapping her out of her daze. "Come, I'll teach you a demon spell." Upon hearing Guin's words, Tian Yao immediately became excited and hurriedly followed him. Guin had obtained many spells and cultivation techniques from the memories of the Black Crow Demon Envoy. He intended to teach Tian Yao the Black Crow Demon Envoy's spell to transform into a flock of black crows. It had to be said, Tian Yao's aptitude and comprehension were very high. After an hour, she could already transform into several fire crows. That's right, fire crows, not black crows. Flame-imbued crows made Guin suspect even more that she had the phoenix bloodline. The most important aspect of this spell was not the transformation, but the flight speed. Tian Yao would need to spend a lot of time to master it fully. Watching her practice the spell, Guin's thoughts wandered. Demon Emperors, Demon Masters, 72 routes of Great Demon Kings, and the soon-to-be-revived Demon Ancestor. Even Guin, who had reached the 9th layer of the Nirvana realm, felt the pressure. The lowest cultivation level of the 72 routes of Great Demon Kings was the Mystic Heart realm, with the top 3 Great Demon Kings having stepped into the Mahayana realm. This was why the Ephemera sect did not dare to set foot in the Demon Land. And the reason the Demon Clan did not head south was not out of fear of the 9 dynasties but rather waiting for the revival of the Demon Ancestor, who would need a large amount of flesh and blood to restore his body. The people of the 9 dynasties were the food designated by the Demon Emperor. Of course, there were also mysterious great cultivators protecting the 9 dynasties. 2,000 years ago, a mysterious Mahayana cultivator heavily injured the Demon Emperor during his southern invasion, nearly causing his death. However, that great cultivator had already headed south across the sea, a fact discovered by the Black Crow Demon Envoy's subordinates, who then informed the Demon Emperor. That great cultivator came from the great Jiang dynasty's Zhangtian sect, known as the Taoist Lord. Whether he was still alive after 2,000 years remained unknown. The great Jiang dynasty was the strongest dynasty among the 9. Although the world was now in chaos, the great Jiang dynasty remained stable, and the Zhangtian sect solidified its position as the leading faction in the world by opposing the ephemera sect. The demon land was vast and boundless. Besides the openly acknowledged great demon kings, who knew what else was hidden there? This made Guwen more eager to reach a lifespan of 10 million years. If possible, he didn't want to escape. He wished to continue living on this land with the supreme sect. The death of the Black Crow demon envoy did not cause any impact. Xie still spent his days at the heavenly repair platform comprehending sword intent. However, as time passed, demons kept increasing all over the world, causing great suffering to the common people, and the Supreme Sect issued more missions to eliminate demons. Even Yi Lan and Zhen Qin had to join the efforts. Since their missions were within the Supreme Sect, Guwen was at ease. 2 years flew by in the blink of an eye. Gu An's lifespan reached over 7. For million years, getting closer to the 10 million mark. He used his divine sense to investigate the demon land daily. Should the demon calamity arrive prematurely, he would choose to break through early. He had already decided the location for his breakthrough. He would break through above the Southern Ocean. That day, Hao and Sienna left the Starmaster Cave. As they walked out of the mountain wall, they turned back, watching the cave entrance gradually disappear. "Where is your master? I haven't seen him all these years," Sienna asked curiously. Hao replied, "The old man is elusive, I don't know where he is either. But one thing is certain, if I encounter danger, he won't stand by and do nothing." Hearing this, he showed a pleased expression. Sienna pursed her lips, wanting to mock him, but she held back. She couldn't forget the scene when Guwen obliterated the mystic heart realm with a flick of his sleeve. Such a great cultivator, Tianwei could not afford to offend. Just then, a figure leaped out of the forest, landing swiftly in front of the two. Hao frowned, thinking it was an ambush, and prepared to fight. The newcomer was a man in Tianwei's official attire. He raised his hand in salute and said, "Your Highness, I have come under the Emperor's orders to escort you. His Majesty plans to marry you to Hao, the top scholar on the Golden List." Upon hearing this, Sienna's face turned pale, and she angrily asked, "Is father insane? How can he marry me to this kind of person?" Hao originally wanted to refuse, but hearing this, he immediately retorted displeasedly, What kind of person am I? Do you think I'm not worthy of you? Then I must marry you." The two began arguing. Meanwhile, the official attire man maintained his smile, watching their argument. Far away in the Supreme Sect's Mystic Valley, Guwen was observing them. He had no objections to Hao and Sienna marrying because he had long seen the budding feelings between the two. However, he remained wary of Tianwei. Should Tianwei attempt to scheme against Hao, he wouldn't be lenient. It would be an excuse for the Taizong dynasty to annex Tianwei's territory. After the trio set off, Guwen closed the Taoist Xuanchuan. Someone was approaching Mystic Valley. He stood up, exited the house, and went downstairs. After an hour, Yi flew his sword into Mystic Valley. From a distance, he saw Guwen and waved in greeting. The Valley disciples, seeing him acquainted with Guwen, did not stop him. Yi landed, stowing his flying sword into his storage bag, then dragged Guwen to a secluded place. The family sent a message. They're planning to move out of the Supreme Sect. The third miss specifically asked to bring you and me, Yi whispered, his expression exuberant, feeling honored that the Ji family hadn't forgotten him. Chapter 160 You are not strong enough. Relocate from Supreme Sect? Guwen was stunned. He didn't expect that Yi had come to him regarding this matter. How could he leave Supreme Sect? His foundation was still here. Moreover, where could the Ji family go if they left Supreme Sect? Guwen frowned and asked, "Why do they want to relocate?" Yi replied, "It seems to be related to the demonic calamity. The family has already found a place to avoid the calamity. No matter what, the family is willing to take both of us. We should be grateful. Get prepared. The exact time of departure hasn't been decided yet, but when it's time to leave, don't delay. Guan shook his head and said, I can't leave. Tell the family, thank you for your kind intention, but I plan to stay and live or die with Supreme Sect. As soon as he said this, Du Yi was stunned, his brows immediately knitted tightly. He said in a deep voice, Guan, don't forget where you and I come from. Sorry, the Ji family's nurturing grace, I've repaid over the years with medicinal herbs. But the kindness of Supreme Sect, I still can't repay. I can't leave, you go ahead. I will stay. Guan said seriously. Du Yi was furious, wanting to teach Guan a lesson, but he was afraid that other servant disciples would hear. There's still time. Think it over. When the demons invade Taizong dynasty, you won't be able to hide even if you want to. Du Yi threw down those words and left in a huff. He came quickly and left quickly, but when he departed, there was no smile on his face. Despite Du Yi's anger, Guan felt warm inside. At least it showed that Du Yi cared about him. Otherwise, he wouldn't bother about his life or death. However, he really couldn't leave Supreme Sect. If Supreme Sect couldn't survive the demonic calamity, it wouldn't be too late for him to escape then. With Gu An's cultivation level, if he really wanted to escape, who could stop him? It wasn't until nightfall that Guan entered the 8 Sina caves. Jiang Qiong was meditating under the green vine tree, training. In front of her stood a great cauldron, with the fire under the cauldron still burning. Feeling Guan's presence, Jiang Qiong asked nonchalantly, Why are you here? Didn't you come just a couple of days ago? Guan approached the great cauldron, looking at the medicinal soup inside as he said, Today, someone from the Ji family came to see me. They said they're preparing to withdraw from Supreme Sect and told me to get ready. Hearing this, Jiang Qiong opened her eyes, her beautiful brows furrowing. She asked, Are you going to leave? If Guan were to leave, a new disciple from Supreme Sect would surely take over Mystic Valley, which wouldn't be good for her. There was also a trace of unexplainable annoyance in her heart. I'm not leaving. I refused. I'm just puzzled about where the Ji family can go to avoid the demonic calamity, Guan sighed. He had come to ask Jiang Qiong about this, thinking she might know. Jiang Qiong sneered, They must be hiding in the 7 Stars Spirit Realm. That 7 Stars Spirit Realm is a holy land, even demons dare not invade it. I heard that the Ji family plans to marry Ji Xiaoyu to a genius in the 7 Stars Spirit Realm. It seems to be true. The Ji family has indeed climbed high. So it was the 7 Stars Spirit Realm. Guan looked at Jiang Qiong and asked with a frown, Is the 7 Stars Spirit Realm very powerful? Of course, it is powerful. On this land, dynasties change and races constantly engage in wars, but only the 7 Stars Spirit Realm has always existed. You tell me, are they powerful? In a sense, the 7 Stars Spirit Realm is the true ruler of this land. Those who pursued me were cultivators from the 7 Stars Spirit Realm because I got to the opportunity they wanted first, Jiang Qiong sneered. Listening to her, Guan wanted to say that if she, a nascent soul cultivator, could snatch opportunities from the cultivators of the 7 Stars Spirit Realm, then it showed that the 7 Stars Spirit Realm wasn't that powerful. Jiang Qiong seemed to see through his thoughts and said, The foundation of the 7 Stars Spirit Realm is very strong. It should have a great heaven and earth no less vast than the 9 dynasties. The families inside are numerous, and their disciples are many. The ones I encountered on the 9 Nether Road were a group of young disciples out on a training mission. Those guys were all under 100 years old but had nascent soul cultivation. The 7 Stars Spirit Realm is indeed terrifying. She showed a look of awe. Even though she was hunted by them, she had no thought of revenge because the difference in strength was too great. A great heaven and earth no less vast than the 9 dynasties? Guan grew more curious about the 7 Stars Spirit Realm. No wonder the 7 Stars Spirit Realm didn't intervene in the racial conflicts on the mainland. Even if the human race on the ground was wiped out, there would still be a continuation of human lineage. Later, Guan asked a few more questions. Jiang Qiong told him everything she knew. The more he learned, the more apprehensive he became of the 7 stars spirit realm. His intuition told him that after the demonic calamity, the 7 stars spirit realm might cause the next disaster. But Guin wasn't anxious. His strategy was to act only when he was absolutely sure. If he could fight, he would fight. If not, head retreat and live to fight another day. Your third miss is engaged to the 7 stars spirit realm. Are you happy or unhappy? Jiang Qiong suddenly asked teasingly. Guin casually replied, third miss is a girl of heavenly pride. Naturally, she would marry a boy of heavenly pride. I'd certainly be happy for her. Really? Not a bit of regret in your heart? Jiang Qiong asked with a smile. Guin raised his eyebrows and shrugged, saying, indeed I have regrets. Actually, I admire the 3rd Mississippi. But, alas, my talent is mediocre, and I don't qualify to pursue her. Since I cannot have her, I can only console myself by wishing her well. Jiang Qiong's smile faded. She snorted coldly and said, you do see it clearly. Correct? If status and talent don't match, affection will only harm you. Keep it up. Don't let your heart be easily moved again. Guin nodded and said, I don't need to be moved. There are plenty of female disciples in the valley. Oh, is that why you don't like to cultivate? I mean, if I want to find a Taoist friend, it's not hard, but I don't want to. That sounds better. Martial Master has lived longer than you, and Taoist friends are unreliable. How many Taoist friends abandon each other in moments of life and death? How many schemed against their partners for personal gain? Martial Master hopes you won't have feelings for anyone lightly. Be more cautious. Martial Master is looking out for you. Did you ever have a Taoist friend? If I did, I would have died long ago. Jiang Qiong began to preach earnestly to Guin. Guin, in return, asked questions sarcastically. After more than an ancient hour, Guin finally left. Watching Guinness retreating back, Jiang Qiong thought to herself, this lad didn't even call me Martial Master. His mind is a bit wild. The tail end of summer eventually slipped away, and another autumn arrived. Guin came to Tianya Valley and noticed that there was one more person in the valley. Since LV Xian and Iluyan left, the valley only had Luo Hun and 3 monkey demons for company. Because of this, Guin brought lots of books for Luo Hun, even a chess set. Actually, even without these, Luo Hun wouldn't feel bored, since he was a cultivator. But because Guin brought them, it was easier for him to get distracted. He often cursed Guin for being sinister, but he couldn't refuse, as Taoist Sunshin's writings were indeed compelling. Guin walked down from the hillside, looking at the figure standing in front of the wooden fence from afar. Ji Rolai, Nascent Soul Realm, 8th floor 96/700/3900 Ji Rolai? Guin raised his eyebrows. He had heard of this name. He was Ji Xiaoyu's biological elder brother, taken to the main family for training when he was young. Guin had never met him, only heard about him from other house servants. He didn't expect that Li Xiandao had even roped in Ji Xiaoyu's brother. Luo Hun descended from the sky, landing beside Guin. He introduced Ji Rolai to Guin and asked, "You've heard of him, right? After all, you also come from the Ji family." Guin nodded. The two approached Ji Rolai from behind. Ji Rolai stared at the flowers and plants in the park, lost in thought. When Luo Hun called out to him, he snapped out of it. He turned to look at Guin and Luo Hun and said, "So this is the Valley Master, Guin?" Guin raised his hand in greeting and said, "Greetings, second young master." Ji Rolai waved his hand and said, "Here, I must address you as Valley Master. His Majesty said him to assist you." The talents who came to Tianya Valley had to assist Guin, yet they could freely ask for any herbs in the valley, so Ji Rolai was friendly to Guin. But Guin didn't need their assistance. He preferred to give them a small favor instead. "Second young master, feel free to focus on your cultivation. The trivial matters of the valley are handled by Sunda and the others," Guin said softly with a smile. Ji Rolai nodded and then started a casual conversation with him. He noticed a strange cold aura in Ji Rolai's body, which surrounded his golden core. After chatting for a while, Guin excused himself, as he needed to pick medicinal herbs. Ji Rolai watched Gu An's departing figure, deep in thought. Luo Hun caught up with Guan and whispered, "Did you find the supreme secret records I asked you to look for?" Guan reluctantly refrained from rolling his eyes and whispered back, "No, that book has already disappeared without a trace. Forget about it. Isn't Taoist Zunshan's works and Green Hero travel enough for you?" Luo Hun could only sigh regretfully and then left. Guan shook his head, smiling. He wondered where Luo Hun had heard about it, knowing even about the supreme secret records, and asked Guan to buy it. Guan feared it might lead Luo Hun astray, affecting his training, so he didn't help him buy it. It was all Shenzhen's fault for corrupting the ethos of the immortal cultivation world. Late at night, in a dilapidated temple, a man in plain clothes fell to the ground, his right foot twitching a few times before he completely stopped breathing. Standing beside him was a man in black, Su Han. Su Han had just absorbed the spiritual power of the plain-clothed man. He was cultivating energy with both hands, trying to harmonize it. From his tightly knit brows, it was evident that he was in discomfort. There were 4 other corpses beside him, both male and female, all dead. A gust of ghostly air entered through a hole in the roof, forming the figure of the ghost mother of Ephemera. Under the moonlight, the ghost mother of Ephemera's pale face looked eerily terrifying. She stood aside, watching Su Han. For a long time, Su Han opened his eyes, exhaling a breath of murky air. The ghost mother of Ephemera began, "I've already leaked your whereabouts. In no more than 7 days, many cultivators will come to hunt you down. I will have the 9 Nether 13 evil intercept the great cultivators. Seize this chance and don't let anyone escape." Su Han nodded, then asked, "Ghost Mother, why are so many people seeking their own death when I have no grudge against them?" The ghost mother of Ephemera replied calmly, "Some want to kill you to make a name for themselves. Some want to kill you to claim the sword sex bounty. The fundamental reason they pursue you is that you're not strong enough. They think they can kill you." Chapter 161. The Mahayana Demon Attacks, the Only Way Out. Hearing the words of the ghost mother of Ephemera, Su Han remained silent. He did not refute her because he also felt that he was weak. Along the way, he had narrowly escaped death many times, relying not on his own strength. Su Han was very clear that he was just a pawn. Like the ghost mother of Ephemera in front of him who was helping him wholeheartedly, she must have had her own motives. But he had no other choice. The time left for you is running out. The demon calamity is approaching. The defying fate divine skill can only absorb the spiritual power of cultivators, not demonic power. When the demon calamity descends, if you're unwilling to abandon your principles, it will be tough for you to become stronger as every cultivator will be busy resisting the demons, said the ghost mother of Ephemera. Upon hearing this, Su Han asked, "Are you in a hurry? What do you ultimately want me to do?" The ghost mother of Ephemera answered, "That depends on how strong you can become. It's not me who should be in a hurry but you. Since the day you began cultivating the hateful heaven divine sword, your lifespan has been limited. No matter how high a realm you reach, your lifespan will not increase unless you can reach the legendary immortal realm." Su Han frowned. The ghost mother of Ephemera had mentioned the drawbacks of the hateful heaven divine sword more than once. It seemed like a reminder for his own good, but he felt threatened and oppressed. "I will do my best," Su Han said, and then sat down to meditate, beginning his cultivation. The ghost mother of Ephemera watched him for a while, then transformed into a wisp of ghostly energy and dissipated. Su Han looked up, gazing at the full moon outside. For some reason, he suddenly felt an immense sorrow and confusion. It seemed no one in the world remembered him anymore. Winter snow arrived, covering the third Medicine Valley in a vast expanse of white, making everything look desolate. Guan stood on the balcony, appreciating the snowy scenery while thinking about the next volume of Shattering Void. Shattering Void had become incredibly popular, and its popularity far exceeded Guan's expectations. The first 5 volumes alone had outsold the entire series of Supreme Immortal Venerable. The essence of Shattering Void was the same as Supreme Immortal Venerable, a feel-good story. But the theme of Shattering Void resonated deeply with the current mindset of cultivators across the world. With the demon calamity looming, various sects continued to send disciples out to gather information. As more intelligence came in, the whole immortal cultivation world grew increasingly oppressive. More and more people felt they were at the end of their path in cultivation. If only they could shatter the void and escape, how wonderful that would be. In the distance, a white spirit rat scampered across the snow, with Xiao Chuan chasing behind it. Not only did he fail to catch it, but the white spirit rat also kicked snow into his face, amusing Guan greatly. It was hard to tell what charm this plump rat had that Xiao Chuan liked it so much. Lu Lingjun walked to Guan's building, looked up at him, and said, "Valley Master, have you felt anything?" Guan lowered his eyes and asked, "Cold?" "Indeed, you could say that. There is a powerful demonic energy coming from the north. Could it be a sign that the demon calamity is about to arrive?" Lu Lingjun replied, her gaze also shifting to the north. Guan had actually sensed it long ago. A powerful demon at the Mahayana realm was moving south and was almost at the territory of the 8 dynasties. He did not intervene. He wanted to see if there were any hidden experts in the territory of the 8 dynasties. When the demon calamity erupted, he couldn't rely on his strength alone to turn the tide. Apart from the danger, doing so would draw too much hatred, making it easy for the 7 Stars spirit realm to target him. Although Guan's divine sense could cover the 9 dynasties' territory, the world was vast, and some people always managed to hide, like the Star Master Cave, which he hadn't discovered with his divine sense before. Guan asked, "If the demon calamity descends, what will you do?" Lu Lingjun replied, "Naturally, I will fight alongside the Supreme Sect, but if we are overpowered and see no hope, I will head south to seek an immortal fate." Having ascended for so many years, she had a deep understanding of this world. Since ancient times, when great cultivators hit bottlenecks, they would venture south. Even though the seas were more perilous than the demon lands, there were still those who pressed on without hesitation. As an ascender, Lu Lingjun naturally would not perish with the Supreme Sect. Guan nodded slightly, not making any comment. Lu Lingjun looked at Guan and asked, "What about you, Valley Master?" Guan feigned hesitation and said, "I will diligently plant medicinal herbs and contribute my strength. If the Supreme Sect were to fall, then I would take my own life to avoid being devoured by demons." Hearing this, Lu Lingjun rolled her eyes at Guan, thinking he was hopeless. Guan chuckled and didn't continue the topic to prevent panic among the other servant disciples. However, how would the immortal cultivation world deal with the impending Mahayana realm demon? The snow kept falling incessantly as if it wanted to bury the world. Night fell. Guan arrived at Nianchu Cave in Heavenly Phoenix Mountain. As soon as he entered, he saw Tian Yaoer crouching by the medicine cauldron, warming herself by the fire, hugging her knees, shivering, even burying her head. Guan walked towards Tian Yaoer, deliberately making footstep sounds, causing Tian Yaoer to lift her head. Seeing Guan, she immediately beamed and rushed towards him, hugging him. "What's the matter with you?" Seeing that she was really frightened, Guan did not push her away but asked concernedly. Tian Yaoer buried her head in Guan's chest and whispered, "I'm scared. It feels like something terrifying is approaching." She clung tightly to Guan's waist, afraid he would leave. Guan patted her shoulder and comforted her, saying, "Don't be afraid. That creature isn't heading towards Heavenly Phoenix Mountain. It's far away from us." Upon hearing this, Tian Yaoer looked up and cautiously asked, "Really? Really? Besides, haven't I come to stay with you? But you can't even defeat the Demon Mother. I feel that terrifying presence is even stronger than the Demon Mother. Indeed, I can't defeat it, but I will take you along and flee if we have to. Then don't lie to me. If you are going to leave here, you must take me with you." "I won't lie to you," Guan assured her. If not for his help, Tian Yaoer might have been devoured by demons. She could only rely on him. How could he abandon her? Nonetheless, Tian Yaoer's reactions surprised him somewhat. Being a demon herself, why would she be so scared? He led Tian Yaoer to sit down and asked her to explain why she was so frightened. Unfortunately, Tian Yaoer fumbled for a long time and couldn't articulate it clearly. Based on the Black Crow demon envoy's memories, Guwen knew the origin of the powerful demon. Six-headed sea dragon, one of the 72 great demon kings, ruling 10,000 miles, with countless demon soldiers and demon generals under his command, known for his violent nature and infamous reputation. Even the Black Crow demon envoy, when meeting him, tread carefully, fearing being swallowed in one gulp. At this moment, the six-headed sea dragon was leading millions of demons southward, and along the way, more demons joined, including demon kings willing to follow him. His overwhelming demonic energy had alarmed the human race's immortal cultivation world. Guwen could sense many cultivators heading towards the 8 Dynasties territory, with more than 20 mystic heart realm cultivators among them. Guwen comforted Tian Yaoer for a while, and she finally calmed down. Surprisingly, she fell asleep on his lap. It seemed he would have to stay here a while longer tonight. Morning. At dawn, a dragon's roar echoed from afar, startling the servant disciples in the Mystic Valley. Chu Jingfeng, meditating on a cliff, opened his eyes and looked towards the sky, his brows furrowed as the snow on his body gradually melted. In the valley, the servant disciples gathered, discussing where the sound came from and what demon had made it. Guwen walked into the valley from the endless snow, collected his flying sword, and was immediately surrounded by servant disciples asking about the dragon's roar. I also don't know what demon made it, but you can rest assured, staying in the Supreme Sect, you won't have to worry. Guwen reassured. The current batch of disciples in Mystic Valley was new. Besides Lu Jiujia and Chu Jingfeng, none had experienced various calamities Mystic Valley had faced, so the disciples easily believed Guwen's words. In the following days, news continuously arrived at the Supreme Sect. The name of the six-headed sea dragon forcefully entered the eyes of Supreme Sect disciples. A great cultivator of the mystic heart realm had already been devoured by him alive, causing unrest throughout the Supreme Sect. A large number of disciples were dispatched to the north to provide support. Even Gu Zong personally came to the Third Medicine Valley to request Lu Lingjun's assistance. After hesitating, Lu Lingjun decided to step in. Along with her was ancestor Xian Quan. The news of their departure spread across the cities of the Supreme Sect. However, when Guwen roamed the Outer Gate City, he found that many people had little hope for the 2 mystical heart realm cultivators, praying more for their safety. Ancestor Quzong's fall had cast a significant shadow over the Supreme Sect. Guwen was also paying attention to the distant battle. Songtian's sect once again took the lead role, leading by example, using the spiritual power of 1,000,000 cultivators to set up a grand formation, creating a barrier against the demon clan's invasion. 14 mystic heart realm cultivators surrounded the six-headed sea dragon, none daring to get close, and the battle turned completely one-sided. However, the six-headed sea dragon showed no interest in entering human territory, merely taunting and issuing various threats and insults, enraging and terrifying the immortal cultivation world. It seemed like the six-headed sea dragon was testing the 8 Dynasties territory. Perhaps fearing the Taoist lord of Songtian's sect, or possibly wary of the mountain god. Early the next morning, Lu Lingjun and ancestor Xian Quan joined the war. Guwen watched throughout, to prevent their deaths. Facing the powerful six-headed sea dragon, Lu Lingjun and Xian Quan were soon defeated and fled back to the human territory to recover their injuries. Guwen felt that Lu Lingjun was purposely underperforming, intentionally getting injured, and then retreating. Perhaps she too believed that fighting to the death was a real possibility of dying. The less the six-headed sea dragon invaded human territory, the more Guwen suspected there was a stronger demon behind him. Di Xie's father, the Demon Emperor. That Demon Emperor ruled over the demons and monsters of the demon land. Perhaps this was a test he arranged. Several days later, Guwen arrived at the Outer Gate City, witnessing a complex scene. He saw the vast heavenly repair stone with tens of thousands of disciples meditating on it. Gu Zong even sat under the words, "righteous path," forcing those meditating on sword enlightenment to leave the platform. Di Xie had come down. Seeing Guwen, he approached and sighed, The Northern Territory is in crisis. The sect is pleading for Sword Venerable Fudeo's assistance. Guwen worriedly asked, "A great cultivator of the mystic heart realm has already fallen. Would relying solely on Sword Venerable Fudao be enough?" Xie sighed, "Maybe not, but what else can we do?" Being a demon himself, he understood the strength of the demon land deeply. With a compassionate tone, he said, "This calamity is inevitable. Perhaps the sea is the only way." Chapter 162 Please Sword Venerable Fudao take action. Guwen could only sigh along with Xie when he heard his words. Escape to the ocean? What a joke! Guwen didn't know what was on Xie's mind, but he felt that after the extermination of the 8 dynasties' human race, the next to suffer would be the demons. The previous legends had already proven this. When the land was covered by demons, powerful cultivators would come. Using humans to feed demons, using demons to feed humans? By making some adjustments, it wouldn't be fratricide, and the Holy Land would still be revered by both races. Guwen chatted with Xie half-heartedly, his eyes never leaving the heavenly repair platform. He was also weighing whether to make a move. After all, he was still quite some time away from the critical point of 1,000,000 years of lifespan. If he broke through now, he would certainly break through to a higher realm, but he wanted to unlock the next lifespan function even more. He feared that his intervention might accelerate the process of the Great Demon Calamity. The Great Jiang Dynasty, here in the northernmost part of the 8 dynasties, was a land of towering mountains and precipitous ridges, full of world-renowned wonders. Backed by the Demon Land, the survival environment for the cultivators of the Great Jiang Dynasty was more difficult, which was why it had produced the strongest dynasty. In the Northern Territory, where mountains overlapped and heavy snow covered the sky, the majestic snow mist made the mountains appear as the ridges of a true dragon, grand and spectacular, and almost like a wall created by heaven, separating the world into 2 halves. On one of the mountains, Lu Lingjun sat cross-legged on a giant boulder. The spiritual power emanating from her kept the surrounding snow mist at bay, forming wisps of white smoke rising into the air. She slowly opened her eyes, gazing towards the horizon. In the front, the mountains still undulated, and there was a faint firelight at the end of the world, which the flying snow could not completely obscure. Strong winds occasionally blew towards Lu Lingjun. The terrifying demon energy of the 6-headed sea dragon enveloped the entire world, making even Lu Lingjun and the white spirit demon emperor on her shoulder uneasy. "What is he waiting for?" the white spirit demon emperor asked in a low voice. Lu Lingjun remained calm and replied, "It might have something to do with the mountain god. After all, a Mahayana cultivator died at the hands of the mountain god. Will the mountain god take action? There are many more demons in the north. This calamity is far beyond what the ephemera sect can compare to. No matter how you look at it, the human race is doomed," the white spirit demon emperor muttered. As a demon itself, it naturally would not side with the human race. It hoped Lu Lingjun would leave this troubled place. Lu Lingjun remained silent, looking into the distance, her thoughts unknown. The white spirit demon emperor couldn't help but urge, "Lingjun, why not head south? Perhaps the ocean isn't as dangerous." Lu Lingjun wistfully said, "Do you remember when the Supreme Sect's cultivators protected me during my breakthrough?" Upon hearing this, the white spirit demon emperor opened its mouth but finally said nothing. It understood Lu Lingjun too well. If Lu Lingjun wasn't so sentimental, would it have followed her? The white spirit demon emperor's snake head lowered, and it said sullenly, "Then let's see how powerful the mountain god is. By the way, the Supreme Sect still has a sword Venerable Fudao. He should take action." Screech, a piercing dragon roar echoed through the sky, snow mixed with a fishy wind rushed forward, and the mountains beneath Lu Lingjun trembled. 10,000 miles away. War was raging, the land was charred, lava flowed among the scorched earth, firelight floated between heaven and earth, and mountains were flattened, leaving behind giant holes in the remaining peaks. Numerous cultivators hovered in the sky, with various grand formations spanning the heavens. The land was divided into two by an abyssal rift, with human race cultivators casting spells on one side and demons and ghosts crammed along the cliff edge on the other, their faces twisted in ferocity, their roars and howls turning the land into a hellscape. A terrifying giant demon stood behind the endless hordes of demons, his towering body cloaked in black armor, with sharp fangs on his shoulder guards resembling mountain peaks, and heads hanging from his belt, all of them great demons' heads. His body was humanoid, soaring 1,000 feet high, with his neck reaching into the clouds, and 6 sea dragon heads looming amidst the cloud cover, with pairs of blood-red eyes seemingly peering from the abyss, instilling terror amongst those who saw them. He was the 6-headed sea dragon, a peerless great demon, fearsome across the demon land. On his shoulder was a small figure shrouded in pitch-black demon energy, revealing only a goat head with eyes red like blood beads. Great King, it appears the human race has no Mahayana cultivators, and that so-called mountain god doesn't dare cause trouble, the goat-headed demon said, its voice reaching the 6-headed sea dragon's ears. Upon hearing this, a terrifying pressure erupted, sending the demons in front fleeing in panic, making way for the 6-headed sea dragon. In the face of the mountain-sized 6-headed sea dragon, most demons were as insignificant as ants. As the 6-headed sea dragon stepped forward, ghostly energy surged, forming countless seductive female ghosts, whose laughter gathering together caused disorientation among the distant human race cultivators. The 6-headed sea dragon is coming. A burly man in a gray robe roared in anger, his voice thunderous. The Tsangtian sect master, Liang Tsenghai, flew to the front of the formation, raising his long sword high and shouting angrily, "Disciples of the Tsangtian sect, follow orders, take your elixirs and fight to the death." As his voice fell, 1,000,000 Tsangtian sect disciples without hesitation took out their elixirs, which were dark brown. After consuming them, their spiritual power surged, blood energy emanated from their bodies, their faces turned blue with bulging veins, and their eyes were bloodshot. The leaders of other sects also gave similar orders, all prepared to fight to the death. The Supreme Sect was no exception. Ancestor Xian Quan flew over the battlefield to the edge of the cliff, holding a horsetail whisk in one hand. He drew talismans with the other hand, each one forming a symbol made of spiritual power which lined up in front. More and more mystic heart realm great cultivators flew to the skies above the cliff that divided the battlefield, facing the approaching 6-headed sea dragon together. Mad swordsman Han Ming was also in the Great Yu Dynasty's formation, ready to fight to the death. Lu Lingjun arrived, stepping on a 100-zhang-long white python, holding a sword in both hands, her presence dominant, with no fear in her eyes. It seems the human race has no Mahayana cultivators. If that's the case, they should become livestock for the demon clan. The icy voice of the 6-headed sea dragon echoed throughout heaven and earth. Following this, the 6 terrifying dragon heads roared simultaneously, shaking the world. The dragon roar converged and spread far, reaching the land of the 8 dynasties. The great battle reignited. This time, the 6-headed sea dragon's advance signified the official start of the demon calamity. The Supreme Sect, Outer Gate City. When the dragon roar came from afar, the flying snow seemed to pause, and the hundreds of thousands of disciples on the heavenly repair platform simultaneously opened their eyes. Gu Zong, sitting in the center, had a drastic change in his expression, his eyes full of worry. Disciples in the streets, manors, and courtyards were all disturbed. Even without seeing the situation in the Northern Territory, just hearing the sound made them tremble with fear. What kind of demonic monstrosity could produce such a terrifying roar? Even the Medicine Valley outside the outer gate was alarmed. Mystic Valley, mountaintop. Gu In and Chu Jingfeng stood side by side, gazing northward, their robes billowing in the wind and snow. Chu Jingfeng frowned upon hearing the dragon roar of the 6-headed sea dragon and asked, "Valley Master, do you think the Supreme Sect can survive this calamity this time?" Guin, observing the battle with his divine sense, said, "Of course, trust the Supreme Sect, trust our immortal cultivation world." When the 6-headed sea dragon crossed that ravine, waves of mystic heart realm auras from the 8 dynasties began rushing towards the northern territory. Not just from the 8 dynasties. Even from the southern ocean, powerful auras emerged. At this moment, Guwen felt the deep foundation of the 8 dynasties' human race, the accumulation of nearly 10,000 years. Some would seek fortune in the ocean, but many others, even in foreign lands, yearned for their homeland. Guwen's left hand touched the double heart ring on his right hand. Even without this ring, he could sense Lu Lingjun's peril. Despite the remote assault, Lu Lingjun was severely wounded. The 6-headed sea dragon was overwhelmingly strong, its attacks heaven-shattering, forcing the entire human race to retreat continuously. It's a shame I'm a cripple now, otherwise I would join the fight, even if it meant dying on the battlefield, sighed Chu Jingfeng. Guwen patted Chu Jingfeng's shoulder, saying, "How can you be a cripple? As long as one lives, there is hope. You can turn your current frustration into motivation. Maybe one day, the Supreme Sect will need you to save it. At that time, you will be its hero. I hope to see that day in my lifetime." Chu Jingfeng couldn't help but turn to him and asked, "Do you really think I can do that?" Guwen smiled, "Of course. Brother Chu, in my eyes, you are a chosen one. What I can't achieve, you certainly can." A chosen one? Chu Jingfeng, in a daze, looked at Guwen, a smile, feeling a surge of strength within him. For years, Guwen had been encouraging him. If there was even a hint of insincerity, it wouldn't have lasted until today. This meant that Guwen genuinely had high hopes for him. "Call for Sword Venerable Fudao to take action." A voice from afar shouted with all its might, followed by a gust of wind and snow rushing towards both of them. Before Chu Jingfeng could speak, another shout rang out from the distance, the voice of tens of thousands of cultivators, in unison, resonating, which even the sound of wind and snow couldn't drown out. "Call for Sword Venerable Fudao to take action. Call for Sword Venerable Fudao to take action." The voices grew louder as more people joined in. Chu Jingfeng sighed, "I may not know if I can become a hero in the future, but now, Sword Venerable Fudao is the hero of the Supreme Sect." In the distance, within the Outer Gate City, on the heavenly repair platform, hundreds of thousands of disciples sat, shouting with all their might. Even the disciples on the streets joined in, pleading for Sword Venerable Fudao to take action. Suddenly, Gu Zong, who was shouting, seemed to sense something. He looked down and saw his treasure sword trembling, as if wanting to be unsheathed. He took off his sword, and so did other disciples. Some even retrieved their swords from their storage bags. On the streets, disciples paused, looking in amazement at the swords at their waists or in their hands. All the swords were trembling, and they felt a mighty sword intent enveloping them. Could it be? The Supreme Sect cultivators' hearts filled with a daring speculation. Chapter 163, Execution of the Great Demon King, the Terrifying Sword Venerable. All the swords and flying swords in the city were trembling, exciting the cultivators immensely. They even raised their swords, holding them aloft. It's the sword intent of Sword Venerable Fudao. Sword Venerable Fudao heard our call. This sword intent is indeed from Sword Venerable Fudao. With such vast sword intent, it should be able to contend with the 6-headed sea dragon, right? Where is Sword Venerable Fudao? Could he be in the city? The city was in an uproar. Everyone was very excited. Clang! The sound of swords being drawn suddenly overshadowed the clamor of voices. Countless swords rose into the sky, their tips pointing upwards, all hovering at the same height. There were over 1,000,000 swords, and their light was so dazzling that it even outshone the falling snow. On the heavenly repair platform, Gu Zong stood up, and so did the other disciples, all gazing up at the swords in the sky. Di Xie stood on the eaves, looking up at the scene, with an expression of incredulity on the face of this mystic heart realm great demon. Such sword intent, Di Xie murmured to himself. Having come to the Supreme Sect for so many years, he had deeply felt the sword intent of Sword Venerable Fudao. He thought he had overestimated Sword Venerable Fudao, but now he realized the depth of his immeasurable power. Even though he had the third layer of the mystic heart realm cultivation, facing this sword intent made Xie feel insurmountable. Under the gaze of the entire city, over 1,000,000 swords flew towards the north, sword chi bursting forth, dispersing the falling snow between heaven and earth, unstoppable, disappearing into the horizon in the blink of an eye. The vast sky was cleaved in two, revealing a clear blue sky, a magnificent sight. Gu Zong's hair was blown askew by the strong wind as he looked towards the direction of the departing 1,000,000 swords, a smile appearing on his face, no longer with a frown as before. Six-headed sea dragon, can you withstand the strongest sword of the supreme sect? Great Jiang Dynasty, Northern Territory. Endless cultivators flew towards the north like a rain of arrows, a magnificent sight that scattered the falling snow in the sky. Looking in the direction they were flying, thousands of miles away, on the demon battlefield, the six-headed sea dragon had already leaped over the bottomless canyon. Countless demonic creatures leaped over the canyon, following him to massacre the territory of the human race. The six-headed sea dragon grasped a great cultivator of the mystic heart realm in his hand. No matter how the cultivator struggled, he couldn't break free from his grasp. Thousands of feet away, numerous great cultivators of the mystic heart realm kept casting spells, but unfortunately, their spells and divine skills did not cause any harm to the six-headed sea dragon, not even breaking through his armor. Rocks fell like a meteor shower, striking the demonic army, yet the six-headed sea dragon had no intention of protecting his subordinates. As he advanced, he threw the great cultivator of the mystic heart realm in his hand into his mouth, chewing as his six heads twisted around, scanning in all directions. Occasionally, he would grab almost dead demons from the distance, swallow them in one bite, and blood rained down. Each of his mouths was stained with blood, a horrific sight. His posture was lazy yet dominating. The cultivators of the mystic heart realm felt utterly hopeless. They had never felt so helpless even when facing Butcher Immortal Jing from the Ephemera sect, because Butcher Immortal Jing had died too quickly then, whereas now they truly felt the might of a Mahayana realm being. Lu Lingjun stood on the back of the white spirit demon emperor, her hair disheveled, her right shoulder bleeding profusely, blood bubbling constantly. She looked at the six-headed sea dragon from afar with eyes full of unwillingness. We can't move him at all. If this continues, we could end up in his mouth any time. The white spirit demon emperor said despondently, without any of the bearing of a unification realm being. It now only wanted to flee from this place. Lu Lingjun took a deep breath, knowing that continuing the battle was hopeless and would only lead to pointless sacrifices. She harbored thoughts of retreating, and not just from the battlefield, but from this continent altogether. Just then, she seemed to sense something and suddenly turned her head, eyes wide with disbelief. Behind, the world was vast and covered in white. Snow obscured everything, and the snow mist blew towards her with the wind. Not only her, more and more cultivators felt something, all turning their heads to look. Liang Tonghai, the master of the Tangtian sect, blood-covered and disheveled, held a great cauldron in his right hand, emitting tens of thousands of green lights, sweeping across the battlefield. Blood flowers burst wherever the lights swept, but his attacks on the six-headed sea dragon had no effect. He suddenly turned sideways, eyes widened in shock, looking back. The six-headed sea dragon, advancing and feeding simultaneously, also seemed to sense something. All six heads turned forward. His six dragon faces twisted ferociously, roaring forward in unison, the dragon's roar shaking heaven and earth. Countless lower cultivation cultivators and demons bled from the 7 orifices, stunned by the roar. The six-headed sea dragon raised his hand, demon energy bursting from his palm, manifesting a giant bone knife out of thin air. He gripped the knife with both hands and slashed forward in fury. As the knife slashed out, demon energy surged like waves, transforming into black dragons that vied to reach the end of the world, sweeping heaven and earth. Any cultivator in the path was turned to ash on impact. Boom! A shocking thunderous sound came from the horizon. Sword light illuminated heaven and earth, and a terrifying sword chi, at a speed far surpassing the black dragon's demon energy, came killing from the horizon. Countless cultivators were overtaken by the sword chi along the way. These cultivators only felt heaven and earth brighten suddenly. Next, they were enveloped by a mysterious and vast sword intent, their pupils dilating, a multitude of swords surrounded by sword chi passing by them and forcefully entering their field of vision. Lu Lingjun, being of higher cultivation, reacted faster, yet she was still overwhelmed by the countless swords. She didn't dare move, only able to watch the swords rush towards the six-headed sea dragon. Her beautiful eyes widened, full of shock. In merely the blink of an eye, over 1,000,000 swords converged into a gigantic sword chi, fiercely dispersing the black dragon demon energy, rushing headlong towards the six-headed sea dragon. The six-headed sea dragon reacted extremely quickly. After the slash, all 6 heads opened their mouths, spewing torrents of flames like a burning river sweeping the sky. Boom! The flames were shredded, and the massive demon body of the 6-headed sea dragon was hit, forced to retreat repeatedly, flesh flying as if in a torrential downpour. After retreating 7 steps, the 6-headed sea dragon stopped. The million-sword group had already pierced through his demon body, tracing an upward arc in the sky before halting. Countless cultivators and demonic creatures stared, trembling, as the demon energy dissipated and the dragon heads fell to the ground, raising clouds of dust. The terrifying demon body of the 6-headed sea dragon was full of bloody holes, densely packed, horrifying. Its life force was completely extinguished. The sword intent of the Taizong divine shocking sword forcefully eradicated its primordial spirit. A Mahayana demon core hovered among the 1,000,000 swords, the demon core of the 6-headed sea dragon. Silence reigned over the world. Whether cultivators of the human race or demonic creatures, all gaped at the scene in shock. The nearly invincible 6-headed sea dragon died just like that? Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The million-sword group began flying towards the Taizong dynasty, the sound of swords breaking through the air incessantly, shattering the silence. Sword Venerable Fudao. It's our supreme sex sword Venerable Fudao. A great cultivator shouted in ecstasy. It wasn't just him. Those cultivators who had experienced the sword intent at the heavenly repair platform were all excited, chanting the name of Sword Venerable Fudao. Lu Lingjun looked up at the million-sword group resembling a meteor shower, eyes full of complex emotions. The white spirit demon emperor beneath her feet was equally stunned, speechless. Kill! Liang Zhonghai shouted loudly, equally excited. At his command, the cultivators of the Zhongtian sect led the charge against the demonic army. Witnessing the death of the 6-headed sea dragon, the demonic army immediately fell into disarray, fleeing in a panic. The demonic kings leaped up, fleeing back to the demon land at full speed. The vast sword group swept over mountains and lakes, watched by cultivators, commoners, and demons alike along the way. Great Jiang Dynasty, Taichun Dynasty, North Sea Mounts. Sage Xian Miao stood on a hillside, watching the sword group flying towards the horizon, confusion in his eyes. Moments before, he had seen the million-sword group flying north, and now they had returned so quickly? He watched the million-sword group disappear into the horizon, then stood in place, pondering. During the flight, Guwen appeared out of nowhere in the sword group, seized the 6-headed sea dragon's demon core, then vanished. He returned to the Mystic Valley Pavilion, unnoticed, having been gone for 2 breaths' time. He used his divine sense to guide the million-sword group back to the outer city. Drawing on his Nirvana realm memory and insight, he returned each sword to its owner, causing excitement throughout the city. Killing the 6-headed sea dragon granted Guwen 800 years of lifespan, far less than what an 8th-rank spirit tree provided. Guwen picked up the Taoist Xuanchuan and calmed his thoughts. This intervention could potentially advance the demonic catastrophe. If the demonic catastrophe arrived sooner, he would have no choice but to embark on a mass slaughter to reach a lifespan of 10 million years early. He did not want to slaughter the masses and fall into demonic ways, but for survival, he had to lower his principles. In gaining lifespans, Guwen constantly worried about excessive killing, forming inner demons or sins, Such occurrences were not uncommon in the immortal cultivation world. Hence, he preferred to extend life through plants whenever possible. Of course, he also feared that too much killing would attract unbeatable enemies. He tried to avoid thinking about these things, wondering instead what abilities would be unlocked with a 10-million-year lifespan. In the outer city, Xie watched the ecstatic cultivators on the heavenly repair platform, lost in thought. With his perceptive power, he could sense that the demonic energy of the six-headed sea dragon had dissipated. How long had it been? Sword Venerable Fudao actually used others' swords to successfully slay the six-headed sea dragon. Xie knew the six-headed sea dragon. He disliked the six-headed sea dragon but had to admit its strength, ranking among the top in the 72 great demon kings. Being able to easily kill the six-headed sea dragon, how strong was Sword Venerable Fudao? Xie suddenly felt that the upcoming war between the two races had an unpredictable outcome. Sword Venerable Fudao might become the greatest obstacle for his father. He was not worried, even a bit expectant. Compared to the atmosphere of the demon clan, he preferred the atmosphere of the supreme sect. At least there was no internal strife. Xie looked into the distance, eyes playful, thinking curiously, "Demon Master, you consider yourself to be extraordinary, thinking you can predict all things in heaven and earth. Could you have foreseen Sword Venerable Fudao?" He walked up to the heavenly repair platform, ready to continue observing the sword intent of Sword Venerable Fudao. He had a premonition that the sword intent of Sword Venerable Fudao would be his greatest opportunity in this life. Chapter 164. Demon Invasion, Hunting Down the Mountain. At the end of the year, Guan arrived at Outer Gate City and noticed that the streets were full of disciples discussing Sword Venerable Fudao's feat of slaying the six-headed sea dragon. Some stalls were even selling six-headed sea dragon dolls, and there were various depictions of the creature, including illustrations of its death. As he looked at those pictures, he inexplicably thought of Shenzhen. Shenzhen was still in seclusion. If she weren't, she might have been inspired by this event as well. Not having seen her for many years, Guan found himself somewhat missing her. He wasn't missing her as a person, but rather her creative skills. He didn't want Shenzhen to stop writing, as long as she didn't write about him in her next book. Guan started wandering around the city, listening to the disciples praise Sword Venerable Fudao, feeling secretly pleased, and the anxiety had been unable to shake off gradually diminished. The demons in the Northern Territory had been swept away, and no great demon king on par with the six-headed sea dragon had appeared. It seemed like everything was moving in a positive direction. However, Guan knew that the great demonic calamity was still approaching. Not only in the Northern Territory of the Great Jiang Dynasty, but demons were also continuously invading human territories from east to west, near the demon land borders, although on a small scale that various sects could not completely stop. Thankfully, the number of demons infiltrating was not yet large enough to shake the foundations of the 8 dynasties, so Guan could still endure. After wandering for a long time, Guan finally headed towards the book collection hall to submit his book. What happened next made Guan laugh and cry. Great Elder Feng Shang hoped Guan could write Sword Venerable Fudao into Shattering Void and enhance his image. This was the sect's intention. Guan pretended to be in a difficult situation, but then Feng Shang said the sect had prepared 100 6th-tier medicinal herb seeds for him, so he reluctantly agreed. When the new year arrived, Yi Lan and Zhen Qin did not return, making Guan spend the festival with the disciples, feeling that something was missing compared to previous years. This suddenly made him feel a bit uneasy. Years later, if all his old friends had passed away, would New Year's become a sad occasion for him instead of a joyful one? As midnight approached and he arrived at Nianchu Cave, these feelings began to fade. No matter what, Tian Yaoer could at least accompany him for 18,000 years, and if she could undergo nirvana within that time, she'd accompany him even longer. However, he also had to learn to manage his own feelings and understand the nature of the world to achieve enlightenment. Next to the stone table, Guan and Tian Yaoer began roasting lamb legs, chatting and laughing. Tian Yaoer was always talkative when facing him, creating a festive atmosphere. By the way, Master, I've been hearing a strange sound lately, as if it's coming from outside. Could it be that a demon has discovered this cave? Tian Yaoer suddenly asked, her mouth greasy, face smeared with sauce, her frowned look making Guwen want to laugh. Guwen replied, "Don't worry, no demon will intrude here. I've seen the one making that sound. It's only temporarily residing in Heavenly Phoenix Mountain." Hearing this, Tian Yaoer immediately felt relieved. "Oh, Master, where do you go after leaving the cave? Did you go live among humans?" Tian Yaoer asked. "Yes, I have other caves to tend to." Master, you don't have other demons raised, do you?" "There are a few, but none as powerful as you." "Are there any female demons?" "Of course not. Those demons lack the capacity to shapeshift." "That's good. Master, do you have a Taoist friend?" Tian Yaoer seemed to have opened a can of worms, constantly pressing with questions. Guwen raised an eyebrow under his mask and asked, "Where did you hear about Taoist friends?" Tian Yaoer took a bite of lamb, replying unclearly, "From the books you left, do you have a Taoist friend or not?" Guwen answered, "Of course not." Tian Yaoer looked pleased, but Guwen's next words made her face fall. "But there are a few women who might become my Taoist friends. I'm quite troubled, not knowing whom to choose." Tian Yaoer put down the lamb leg, wiped the grime off her face, and asked seriously, "Master, do you think I'm suitable?" Guwen glanced at her and said irritably, "What? You want to climb ranks?" "It's not that. I just thought I could meet the standards of the Taoist friend in the books. Besides, he'll never betray you like those in the books. He'll definitely live and die with you in the future." Tian Yaoer hastily explained, "You want to live and die with me, but I don't want to. I'm aiming for longevity." Guwen was determined to live longer than heaven and earth, so he wouldn't be moved by such words. He replied grumpily, "Focus on your cultivation, little demon, and don't think about nonsensical things. Whether human or demon, cultivation should come first. Emotions should be at most a secondary pursuit." "All right, then what requirements do you have for a Taoist friend?" "I was just teasing you earlier. I won't seek a Taoist friend. If I did, imagine the sorrow when I have to bury her in the future." "That does seem reasonable. I asked you to read books so you could understand the world's ways, not think about feelings." "I understand, no thoughts about feelings, but if Master wants, I'm always ready." Seeing Tian Yaoer's serious expression, Guwen's eyes couldn't help but drift downward, but he quickly looked away. He changed the topic and started talking about cultivation. Tian Yaoer pouted, feeling a bit disheartened, but still listened attentively. She could only see Guwen twice a month, so she cherished their time together. After the new year, the name of Sword Venerable Fudao was already spreading across the world. The Supreme Sect wasn't idle either, issuing many demon-slaying tasks, prompting more disciples to descend the mountain to save the common people. Mystic Valley, inside a pavilion. Guwen was weaving a robe for himself. Normally, he didn't need to meditate or absorb energy, so he had plenty of time to pursue his hobbies, tailoring being one of them. The reason he wanted to weave a robe was that he was preparing to descend the mountain to slay demons and monsters. Partly to help the common people and partly to seize the opportunity to extend his life, striving to reach a lifespan of 10 million years as soon as possible. He also wanted to experience the lives of Yi Lan and Zhen Qin. Finally, Guwen finished the robe, stored it in his storage bag, and then took up the Qinghong sword and walked out of the pavilion. He greeted Lu Jiojia and left Mystic Valley. Lu Jiojia wasn't curious about where he was going. After all, he frequently left Mystic Valley, and in the eyes of the disciples in the valley, the master was a busy man. Under the blue sky and white clouds, Guwen stood on a cliff, wearing a dark purple robe. A belt cinched his waist, and an embroidered dark red phoenix adorned his robe, with the Qinghong sword sheathed at his waist. He took out an opera mask, put it on, and then placed a bamboo hat on his head. After adjusting himself, he used his divine sense to inspect his appearance. The figure looked good, exuding a compelling aura. Like a wandering hero in martial arts legends. Guwen leapt into the forest below, quickly disappearing from sight. Hundreds of miles away, A battle was taking place in the wilds. Several escort vehicles were halted, and over a dozen armed escorts were fighting against attacking demon beasts from all directions. Behind the escort vehicles, there was a carriage with spooked horses neighing incessantly, inside which a mother and son clung to each other tightly. These armed escorts weren't cultivators, they were merely martial artists, no match for the demon beasts. Just as the escorts were about to despair, a strong wind swept through. Following that, a figure rushed out from the nearby forest, moving as swiftly as a hare, wielding a sword like the wind, cutting down one demon beast after another. In less than 3 breaths, all 9 demon beasts were dead. The escorts turned to look and could just barely make out an embroidered dark red phoenix on the figure's back. Before they could speak, the figure quickly disappeared. Amazing! That person must be a cultivator, right? Of course, how could a martial artist have such skills? Incredible! I couldn't even see how he made his moves. Me neither. I wonder which sect that cultivator is from. I tried to apprentice at the Ancient Sky sect when I was young, but got rejected due to a lack of spirit root. On the other side, in the forest, hearing their discussion, Guin's lips curled up slightly under his mask. Saving people like this felt quite good, perhaps even matching the sense of accomplishment from slaying the 6-headed sea dragon. With that, Guin began his journey of hunting demons and monsters. He only killed those demons posing a threat to the common people, ensuring that every act of killing also saved lives. Saving one life could be more meritorious than building a 7-storied pagoda. Would this hold true in this realm? Anyway, Guin felt at peace, killing one demon, saving one person. Good and evil balanced, he shouldn't be burdened with sin. Late at night, a group of cultivators were meditating in the forest, campfires scattered around, with 5 or 6 people by each fire. Yi Lan and Zhen Qin were among them. Yi Lan was meditating, absorbing energy, while Zhen Qin was discussing recent demon encounters and events in the immortal cultivation world with nearby disciples. I wonder what the 6-headed sea dragon looked like. I heard it ate 5 mystic heart realm great cultivators alive, Zhen Qin said softly, her face full of curiosity and fear. When she mentioned the 6-headed sea dragon, the other disciples instantly became excited, starting to talk about Sword Venerable Fudao. After slaying the 6-headed sea dragon, Sword Venerable Fudao's reputation in the immortal cultivation world had reached its peak. Everyone was curious about how powerful he truly was. No matter how strong the opponent, Sword Venerable Fudao could always kill them effortlessly. As they chatted, they started discussing some of the major happenings in the immortal cultivation world. Recently, Hateful Heaven Divine Sword Su Han absorbed the spiritual power of 20 nascent soul realm cultivators. He is said to be on the verge of entering the divinity transformation realm. What kind of demon skill is he practicing? A male disciple worriedly said. They spent their years slaying demons and monsters outside, so they were concerned about running into Su Han. Listening to their discussion about Su Han, Zhen Qin suddenly felt downhearted. What's this? You want to know what cultivation techniques Su Han practices? Well, you're in luck tonight, you'll find out. A chilling laugh suddenly echoed through the forest, startling the disciples of the law enforcement hall. They all quickly stood up, with Yi Lan also rising, drawing the white spirit sword, ready for battle. Prepare for battle, Yi Lan said in a deep voice. The disciples each took out their magic artifacts and quickly gathered together. Looking around, the silent forest under the night sky was so eerie, with mist swirling in the depths, obscuring any figures. Yi Lan suddenly looked in a direction and frowned. The others did the same, only to see figures emerging from the darkness, carrying a coffin. Chapter 165. 8 million years of lifespan. Looking at the group of black silhouettes carrying a coffin, Yi Lan furrowed her brows tightly. The other disciples were the same. They couldn't discern the aura of the other party, which made their hearts sink. The newcomers were indeed the 9 Nether 13 evil. Underneath the night sky, They were like 13 ghostly shadows, so terrifying. "We are disciples of the law enforcement hall of the Supreme Sect. What do you intend to do?" A male disciple shouted in a deep voice. In the Taizong dynasty, as disciples of the Supreme Sect, they still had some confidence. Upon hearing this, the 9 nether 13 evil were unmoved. Seeing them continually approaching, the disciples of the law enforcement hall had to retreat. "All right, don't scare them. Let them leave quickly." A weak voice came from inside the coffin. Zhen Qin widened her eyes and couldn't help but shout, "Senior brother Suhan?" The disciples of the law enforcement hall were greatly shocked, speeding up their retreat, and Yi Lan's face also became serious. Suhan's name in the world of immortal cultivation was like thunder, but his reputation was of fiendish ferocity. "So it's your junior sister. No wonder you want to let them leave. Then hurry up and get lost." A black silhouette said sinisterly. Zhen Qin wanted to speak, but Yi Lan stopped her, and without uttering harsh words, led the disciples away immediately. As they left, Zhen Qin frequently looked back, her gaze falling on the coffin, but unfortunately, she couldn't see through it. Just like that, Yi Lan and the others quickly departed. The 9 nether 13 evil then put down the coffin, and the coffin lid was opened. Su Han sat up from inside, his hair disheveled, one hand clutching the coffin board. The 9 nether 13 evil spread out, setting up formations in all directions. Su Han stared in the direction where Yi Lan, Zhen Qin, and others had left, his eyes complex, lost in thought. Thousands of miles away. Above the forest, Guan stood atop a tree, watching the scene from afar. He embraced the Qinghong sword, his face concealed by a mask, only his eyes flickering with a ghostly light. After watching for a while, Guan finally turned around and leaped into the mountain forest. Spring arrived, everything revived, the sky over the Supreme Sect turned blue, dotted with white clouds, and the scenery was delightful. In the third medicine valley, Guan was picking medicinal herbs, an Exen following beside him, holding a bamboo basket. In those days, Guan would go out daily to save people and slay demons. Although his lifespan did not increase rapidly, it still increased by several thousand years each day. Mainly, he wasn't solely targeting demons. In the process, he also experienced the various states of the mortal world. "Valley Master, have you any news of my brother?" An Exen suddenly asked, a question she had held back for a long time. She knew Guan was acquainted with Anhao, especially familiar with Anhao's master, LV Baden. While picking medicinal herbs, Guan replied, "I heard that he is in Tianwei and is said to marry the princess of Tianwei. The auspicious date is not yet decided, and he is currently in seclusion cultivating in Tianwei." This matter was not secretive and had already spread within the inner sect. As the first genius of the Supreme Sect, any of Anhao's actions could stir up rumors. The Supreme Sect had already sent elders to discuss the matter. The sect supported Anhao's marriage with the Tianwei imperial family. Hearing this, an Exen sighed in relief and asked smilingly, "How is the princess of Tianwei in terms of talent and beauty?" "In terms of talent, that I don't know. It said she's quite beautiful. You know your brother, don't you? If the looks weren't good enough, would he even consider her?" Guan responded. Talking about Anhao brought more smiles to Enzin's face. She began recounting Anhao's childhood embarrassing moments, and Guan listened intently without showing any impatience. Guan also felt happy that Anhao could get married. Despite not having married himself, just thinking about the disciple he raised getting married uplifted Guan's mood. After finishing picking the medicinal herbs, the two headed towards the pavilion complex. Guan had an Exen bring the herbs to the storage building, while he went upstairs alone to relax and read. By dusk, Guan left the third medicine valley and continued with his roaming plan. Months passed swiftly, and Guan's 90th birthday arrived. During this period he had slain over 12,300 demon beasts, gaining nearly 400,000 years of lifespan, bringing his total lifespan to over 8 million years. All the cultivators in the world were slaying demons and rescuing suffering people. Therefore, Guan had not yet made a name for himself, but the tens of thousands he had saved remembered him. Sooner or later, his deeds would be widely known. 8 dynasties were still at war, pushing for unification, while the immortal cultivation world was resisting demons. Yet no matter how many demons were killed, the number of demons in the lands of the 8 dynasties kept increasing. The demon calamity was different from what many imagined. It wasn't about countless demons attacking all at once, but a continuous infiltration. Perhaps when the demon ancestor resurrected, the situation would be entirely different. A sweltering summer day. Disguised, Guin walked along a mountain path. Along the way, there were many refugees, with sallow faces, dirty and disheveled, staggering along like walking skeletons. Even as they brushed past Guin, they didn't turn their heads, as if nothing mattered to them. Such situations were not new to Guin. These refugees' homes were likely destroyed by demons, forcing them to head to other cities. However, demons weren't the only troubles in these times. There were also evil people preying on the vulnerable. Looting was common. Guin had even killed several evil men who were assaulting women. Guin also did not look at the refugees. He was pondering a question. If he didn't have the ability to steal lifespans, how would he survive in this world? From the Holy Land nurturing demons to harm the living to the common folks suffering from demons and evil men. Even though Guin wanted to cultivate in peace, if he could do something within his power without endangering himself, he would still like to help. As he walked and pondered, he suddenly sensed an aura coming from the south. He ceased his thoughts and extended his divine sense. The divine sense of the 9th layer of the Nirvana realm swept over mountains and rivers, lakes and seas, arriving at the vast blue ocean. He saw a brilliant white light appear at the horizon. Carefully observing, it was a series of white lotuses forming a staircase in the air, continuously extending forward, while the lotuses at the back disappeared. A Taoist was stepping on the white lotus steps as if an immortal walking in the mortal world. Mahayana cultivator. Finally, a Mahayana cultivator returned. Guin felt relieved. If he had to face the demon calamity alone, he would indeed consider fleeing with others. Relying on a lone individual's strength to avert the calamity of extinction would certainly attract the attention of all factions in the 7 Stars spirit realm and those hidden forces. They would investigate him madly. Even if he hid deeply, he couldn't guarantee they wouldn't find him. This didn't align with his cultivation philosophy. He needed others to share the burden, so he could act with less pressure. Subsequently, Guin quickened his pace and continued his demon-slaying plan. He didn't kill every demon he encountered. He only targeted those attacking villages and people. If he could earn hundreds of thousands of years of lifespan each year, it wouldn't take more than 3 years for him to break through to the next realm. Guin had high expectations for the 2nd realm of the immortal path. The return of the Taoist lord of Tsongtian sect. This news was like a bombshell, shaking the entire world of immortal cultivation. The news reached the supreme sect, and the disciples were thrilled. Legends about the Taoist lord started spreading wildly in various cities. When Guin went to the book collection hall at the outer sect to return books, he heard many disciples discussing the Taoist lord. Although information about the Taoist lord was scarce, one thing was clear: the Tsongtian sect regarded him as a Mahayana cultivator. After years of calamities, Mahayana realm was no longer a secret in the world of immortal cultivation. It symbolized the pinnacle that mortal spirits could reach, representing the highest realm in immortal cultivation. With the return of the Taoist lord, various sects were actively contacting their long-out supreme elders, hoping for the emergence of a Mahayana cultivator. It's worth mentioning that this month, the Wuzhen dynasty surrendered to the Taizong dynasty, which expanded its territory yet again, and Tianwei annexed the great Zhao dynasty. Thus, the land of the once 9 dynasties turned into 6 dynasties. In terms of vastness, the Taizong dynasty was the largest. Even in the world of immortal cultivation, the name Li Xiandao was often mentioned. After leaving the book collection hall, Guin walked on the streets, listening to the surrounding disciples' discussions about the various events in the immortal cultivation world. He enjoyed it greatly. The immortal cultivation world was consolidating its strength, so he couldn't afford to fall behind. He aimed to break through to the second realm of the immortal path quietly before the world was unified. An hour later, Guan left the outer gate city and headed towards the North Sea Mountain to the medicine garden of sage Xian Miao to pick herbs. By midnight, Guan moved again. This time, he came to a valley, just under 200 miles from the nearest town. The valley was filled with dense demon energy, and there were dozens of captives and over 200 demons, the strongest of whom had reached the nascent soul realm. That demon was severely injured and had ordered his subordinates to capture people. Guan stood on a cliff, overlooking the flickering firelight in the valley, suddenly capturing an aura, his eyes narrowing beneath the mask. He didn't hesitate and jumped down. Facing the demons in the mortal world, Guan never used spells or divine skills. He relied solely on swordsmanship to slay demons. After half an hour, in the valley, dozens of raggedly dressed commoners knelt on the grass, kowtowing to Guan. On the cliff face before Guan hung a huge cat demon, covered in blood, its demon body embedded in the cliff, with stones continually falling off. Besides that, surrounding Guan were the bodies of demons, a chilling sight. Guan said, "Hurry and leave." Upon hearing this, the commoners quickly got up and ran towards the valley entrance. Guan's gaze then fell on a shape-shifting demon beneath the cat demon's corpse, writhing on the ground. A woman suddenly turned around and said, "Benefactor, that demon was good to us, even trying to save us. Please don't kill him." As she spoke, the other commoners who were running away also stopped. Seeing the demon, they all spoke up, pleading for mercy. Guan waved his hand, and the commoners had to leave. The woman bit her lip and eventually left as well. Soon, the valley fell silent. The shape-shifting demon beneath the cat demon staggered to his feet, looking more like a human than a demon. "Kill me if you want." Zhang Buku looked at the mysterious sword cultivator ahead, gritting his teeth, his eyes showing no fear. Chapter 166. The appearance of the green hero, 9 masters under heaven looking at the shape-shifting demon in front of him. With a stubborn expression, Guan's memories were stirred. He recalled scenes of his time with his eldest senior brother, Zhang Chuanqiu. In his memory, Zhang Chuanqiu aged from youth to old age, representing the life of Zhang Chuanqiu. This shape-shifting demon was Zhang Chunqia's son, Zhang Buku. When they first met, Zhang Buku was just a boy, but now he had grown up. Seeing Zhang Buku in such a miserable state now, his eldest senior brother would surely feel heartbroken, wouldn't he? Guan thought so, and his thoughts began to drift. Zhang Buku's injuries were not inflicted by him. Before he intervened, Zhang Buku was being bullied by demons. When he killed the demons earlier, Zhang Buku pounced on him, but he kicked him to the ground. Zhang Buku could barely stand up until all the demons were dead. According to the words of those commoners, Zhang Buku had indeed not committed any evil deeds. But why did this kid have an attitude of seeking death? Guan raised the Qinghong sword in his hand, pointing at him, and asked, "Do you really want to die?" Zhang Buku did not hesitate. His face twisted in rage, and he lunged directly at Guan. Guan held the sword in a reverse grip, pressing the hilt against Zhang Buku's chest. His upper body leaned back, making Zhang Buku unable to reach him. Before Zhang Buku could change his move, Guan took off his mask and placed it on Zhang Buku's face. Zhang Buku instinctively retreated, then took off the mask, glaring furiously at Guan. As he was about to throw the mask at Guan, his eyes widened and he looked astonished. "Who? Martial uncle?" Zhang Buku cautiously asked. Guan wasn't afraid of revealing his identity, because although the strength he displayed when slaying demons was strong, it was far from his true cultivation level. And only this way would Zhang Buku stop his attack. Guan asked with a smile, "Do you still remember me?" Zhang Buku wiped the blood off his face, excitedly replying, "Of course I remember. You even gave me a spirit energy elixir, how could I forget?" Guan sheathed his sword, then took out some healing medicine and handed it to him, instructing him to heal first. Zhang Buku did not refuse. He took the elixir and sat down to meditate, healing his injuries while watching Guan collect demon treasures. An hour later, The two of them came to a small river. Zhang Buku squatted down, beginning to wash his face and clean his wounds in the process. After he finished cleaning, he turned to look at Guan, who had put the mask back on, and asked, "Martial Uncle Gu, why are you dressed like this?" He was no longer the ignorant boy of the past. After wandering the immortal cultivation world for so long, he was well aware of the supreme sect's status. Within the Taizong dynasty, wherever the disciples of the supreme sect went, they were always honored. Guan replied, "In an era of chaos caused by demons, although I have the heart to save the suffering, I also fear trouble. That's why I wear a mask, not wanting to be recognized." Zhang Buku suddenly understood. He remembered his father's evaluation of martial Uncle Gu. Cowardly, cautious, yet possessing a warm heart. "Be sure not to tell anyone about what I did," Guan added. Zhang Buku chuckled, "Don't worry, I'm very tight-lipped. Besides, martial Uncle Gu just saved my life. How could I ever harm you?" Guan patted his head and asked, "Why were you mingling with those demons?" Upon hearing this, Zhang Buku's smile instantly froze, and he lowered his head. The night wind was hot, and Guan looked at Zhang Buku's back, sighing in his heart. There was no need to ask, Guan could guess his predicament. The union of human and demon, born in a human environment, but as he grew up, his demon energy increased. Humans would not tolerate him, and his views had been shaped by Zhang Chuanxiu. How could he integrate into the demon clan? Guan had previously heard those demons mocking him for his impure blood, which showed that the demon clan did not accept him either. "I recently acquired a cultivation technique, said to be from the Thousand Autumn Pavilion. As I am from a righteous path sect, I cannot cultivate it, so I might as well pass it on to you." Guan suddenly said, then took out a secret book from his storage bag. It was titled, Demon Shadow Divine Skill. In reality, it was the cultivation technique for the 9 extremes yin-yang body. Upon hearing this, Zhang Buku could not help but raise his head to look. Staring at Guan's outstretched hand, he felt a bit dazed. At 66 years old, only this martial Uncle Gu had cared for him without expecting anything in return. He stood up, hesitating. Guan directly stuffed the secret book into his arms, saying, "Take it, and remember, do not tell anyone that I gave it to you." Zhang Buku took a deep breath. He raised his eyes to look at Guan and asked, "Martial Uncle Gu, do you think I am human or demon? Why can't either humans or demons accept me?" Guan asked in surprise, "Who said neither can accept you?" "I accept you. Does it matter whether you are human or demon? Buku, the suffering you are enduring now may be due to a troubled world. Think of those people trapped in the valleys. How many can control their own fate? You can cultivate, which already surpasses 90% of living beings." Zhang Buku fell into a trance, thinking about those who were suffering. What matters is not the identity you were born with, but the existence you want to become in this life, Guan said earnestly. Zhang Buku took a deep breath and said, "Thank you, martial Uncle Gu, for your guidance." Guan feared that Zhang Buku might seek death, so he continued, "When your father was young, he always said how wonderful it would be if his spirit root qualification weren't poor. He also wanted to explore the world, to travel across Great Jiang north and south, to reach the highest point and ask the heavens if there really were immortals. What you possess now is something your father could not touch in his entire life. Cultivate well, and immortal cultivation will guide you to find the meaning of life." Zhang Buku's maximum lifespan was 2,300 years. Even with half-demon blood, it proved that his qualification was not poor. After saying this, Guan patted Zhang Buku's shoulder and then left behind a storage bag before leaving. Zhang Buku hurriedly asked, "Martial Uncle Gu, where are you going?" "To save those who, like you, are suffering." Guan waved his hand without looking back. Zhang Buku watched his back, his eyes full of admiration. He understood the background of martial Uncle Gu, who had no parents, born as a house servant, while he at least had his father accompany him to adulthood. Martial Uncle Gu was so carefree, so why should he lament and blame himself? When he noticed the storage bag on the ground, Zhang Buku couldn't help but pick it up. Just as he was about to call out to Marshal Uncle Goo, he could no longer see his figure. He probed the storage bag with his divine sense, and immediately a complicated expression appeared on his face. Inside were all the demon treasures left behind by the earlier demons. He held the storage bag tightly, lowered his head, and tears streamed down his cheeks. As he cried, his mouth began to smile. "I will cultivate well, Marshal Uncle Goo. One day I will repay you and make you proud." A year passed by quickly. During this year, great cultivators gradually returned from overseas, and each great cultivator's life deeds were promoted by his sect, spreading throughout the world, inspiring all cultivators with boundless enthusiasm. The great calamity of demons was terrifying, but just like Pan's book, Shattering Void, the human race, with their perseverance, would surely endure all calamities. Over the past year, Guin had led a fulfilling life. In the time not spent picking medicinal herbs, he went down the mountain to save the suffering. If he encountered bullied demons, he would also help them. Gradually, a legend arose among the people about a swordsman, who is now called the Green Hero. Later, somehow, this legend evolved into simply calling him Green Hero. In the Mystic Valley, in front of the pavilion, Guin was sparring in swordsmanship with Chu Jingfeng. Yi Lan watched from the side. Eventually, Guin barely defeated Chu Jingfeng. He wiped the sweat from his forehead, lamenting, "Without using spiritual power, it is truly difficult to win against Brother Chu relying solely on swordsmanship." Chu Jingfeng panted heavily and smiled, "Your swordsmanship is excellent. I don't mind losing." Though he lost, he wasn't discouraged because Guin's victory wasn't easy. Afterward, he took his leave, not wanting to disturb Guin and Yi Lan. Guin took Yi Lan upstairs. Once inside, Guin went to wash his face first. Yi Lan closed the door, walked to the desk, and began to speak. "Recently, more and more demons are appearing at the borders of the 5 dynasties. There's even a great demon in the mystic heart realm. It seems that the death of the 6-headed sea dragon did not deter the demon land. Over the year, the Qintang dynasty had merged into the Great Jiang dynasty, and the world was short of another dynasty. I have received information that there are 72 great demon kings in the demon land, and the 6-headed sea dragon was just one of them. When the true great calamity of demons arrives, I don't know how the human race will resist. I think relying solely on the 9 great cultivators in the world is far from enough," Yi Lan said, full of worry. The title of 9 great cultivators was a name proclaimed by the Supreme Sect, including the Taoist Lord of Tsangtian Sect, the Taoist of Immortality of 3 Pure Ones Mountain, and the Sword Venerable Fudao of the Supreme Sect. With the title 9 Great Cultivators spreading, the immortal cultivation world's morale was greatly boosted, and the Supreme Sect was frequently mentioned as a result. LV Beitin had thoroughly studied the techniques Guin had taught him. Guin turned and smiled. "The strength of the immortal cultivation world is at least continuously improving, which is a good thing. As long as there is hope, it is fine." Yi Lan added, "It is said that above the 72 great demon kings, there are even more terrifying existences. It is unknown what the demons in the demon land are planning. Don't think about those things. You and I cannot change the grand trend of the world. All we can do is go with the flow and survive." Guin comforted her. Yi Lan nodded, saying, "If the Great Jiang does fall, brother, let's go south and head to the sea. I've been making preparations. Although the ocean is dangerous, at least it's a way out. If we can find a small island to live on in the future, even if it's only for 10 or 20 years, it wouldn't be a wasted life." Guin smiled and asked, "What kind of life would that be? Just the 2 of us? Wouldn't that be boring?" "How could it be boring? We would work at sunrise and rest at sunset. I have many ways to amuse you." Yi Lan raised her eyebrows at Guin as she spoke, her gaze truly making Guin's imagination run wild. Guin gave a mock cough and said, "If it really comes to that, then it can only be so." After hearing this, Yi Lan became excited and started talking about the resources she had been preparing. Watching her smile, Guin thought to himself, "You can rest assured, sister, I will not let you wander aimlessly." Guan's lifespan had already exceeded 9,300,000 years, getting closer to the 10 million mark. This year, if he made an effort, there's a chance he could accumulate a lifespan of 10 million years by the end of the year. For his sister, he had to test the edge of the great calamity of demons. Chapter 167 Breakthrough of 10 million years lifespan. The clouds churned ominously, the sky was darkened, the ground below crisscrossed with rivers of lava. From a high vantage point, it seemed as though the earth had cracked open, with a searing hot air filling the space between heaven and earth, and a demon fog swirling with embers. Volcanoes stretched endlessly into the horizon, some still erupting. Within the mountains, countless demons twisted and soared. Fish even leaped from the lava, causing bones to rise and fall. Upon the peak of a majestic volcano stood an altar. Seated atop the altar in meditation was a man in a black robe. The robe was vast, his long hair giving the impression that the black robe covered 1/3 of the altar's surface. A snake-like tail, covered in black scales, extended from beneath the robe, draping over the edge of the altar. In front of the black-robed man, a giant skeleton held a bronze mirror, inside which demon energy surged, as if thousands of evil ghosts struggled to break free. A great demon with a tiger's head and a human's body flew in on a demonic cloud, landing beside the altar. Demon Master, His Majesty the Demon Emperor is preparing to go to the ancient tomb of the demon ancestor. He asks if you will accompany him? The tiger-headed demon bowed respectfully as it inquired. The black-robed man on the altar was the Demon Master, a figure within the demon land second only to the Demon Emperor in power. With an air of indifference, the Demon Master replied, "Tell His Majesty my divination is at a critical juncture. I cannot accompany him." The tiger-headed demon continued to ask, "His Majesty wants to know what he should do if the demon ancestor regains consciousness earlier than expected. Assure His Majesty that the soul of the demon ancestor is merely a shell. Its spiritual wisdom has been eroded by heaven and earth. Without finding a suitable soul, it's impossible for him to be resurrected. But His Majesty needs an answer." The tiger-headed demon hesitated. Hearing this, the Demon Master became silent, and his tail ceased its movement, increasing the tiger-headed demon's tension. After a long while, the Demon Master said in a low voice, "If he indeed regains consciousness, have His Majesty destroy him." "As you command." Relieved, the tiger-headed demon bowed deeply and departed immediately. Once the tiger-headed demon disappeared into the horizon, the Demon Master slowly raised his head, revealing a nightmarish face. Half of it was just bare bones. His eyeballs seemed on the verge of falling out, and 2 dagger-like fangs protruded from his mouth. With blood-red pupils, he gazed into the bronze mirror ahead, mumbling to himself, "Why have the fates changed?" In the late autumn, in the book collection hall of the inner sect. Guan arrived on the 3rd floor and found Elder Su Lu, asking, "Recently, a batch of disciples from overseas has returned, including a Supreme Elder. Is there an ocean map available?" Su Lu raised his eyes to look at him, smiling as he said, "You've already asked 3 times. It seems your patience has paid off." He opened a drawer, took out a jade scroll, and said, "The map is here. Use your divine sense to read it, but you can't take it away. You have to look at it here." "Thank you, Elder." Guan quickly expressed his gratitude, then picked up the jade scroll and walked to a nearby chair. He did not fear suspicion. If anyone investigated, he could present himself as Pan, and Pan's justification would be sufficient. Guan's lifespan was already 9,995,000 years, just 5,000 years short of the 10 million year mark. In his current situation, 5,000 years of lifespan was no problem at all. If he waited a month, he would achieve it slowly, or he could expedite it by harvesting heavenly treasures from the Star Master Cave. Sitting down, Guan focused his divine sense into the jade scroll. Soon, he saw the vast ocean from a high perspective, seeing the edge of the Taizong dynasty leading down into the ocean. The edges of the map were shrouded in dense fog, signifying the unknown. From a macro view, The ocean seemed devoid of landmasses larger than this continent, with only islands of various sizes, some as large as the Taizong dynasty. When he focused his divine sense on a particular point, the view zoomed in, allowing him to see detailed scenes of that part of the ocean, including mighty waves and the silhouettes of sea demons. The cultivator who created this jade scroll likely had a very high cultivation level, perhaps even a supreme elder. An hour later, Guwen withdrew his divine sense, stood up, and returned the jade scroll to Su Lu, sighing, "The ocean is truly vast." Su Lu placed the jade scroll back in the drawer, smiling as he asked, "You're studying ocean maps. You're not planning to escape, are you?" Guwen responded righteously, "How could that be? I believe the Supreme Sect can overcome the great demon calamity. Why would I flee? I am merely curious about this world." "Really? Quite a few people have asked me for ocean maps lately, even true disciples. I thought the Supreme Sect was about to disband." Su Lu chuckled. Guwen asked, "And what about you? If the Supreme Sect needed all disciples to fight to the death, what would you choose?" Su Lu smiled. "This old bag of bones is ready to be buried within the Supreme Sect. I've even prepared my tombstone." Guwen couldn't help but show a look of admiration. After chatting for a while, Guwen bowed and took his leave. After descending the stairs, a figure emerged from the staircase leading upstairs. It was a masked woman, dressed in simple robes, her hair wound into a bun by a wooden hairpin. She approached Su Lu. Su Lu raised his hand in greeting, smiling as he asked, "Senior, what do you need?" The masked woman drew several jade scrolls from her sleeve and said, "If that disciple comes looking for maps again, you can give him these." Accepting the jade scrolls, Su Lu couldn't help but ask, "Do you know him?" "In a way, someone wants to take him as a disciple, and he has another identity worth cultivating." Leaving these words, the masked woman vanished into thin air. Looking at the jade scrolls on the table, Su Lu muttered to himself, "Another identity? He's just a Foundation Establishment realm cultivator, always reading idle books. What identity could he have? Could it be Panin? Impossible. How could Panin enjoy reading Taoist Sunshin's books? Is he the author of the Supreme Secret Records, writing under his real name?" Winter set in, bringing late snowfall this year. After nightfall, Guwen first went to the Mystic Heaven Cave Mansion to harvest a batch of medicinal herbs and then replant them. Leaving the Mystic Heaven Cave Mansion, after a few steps, he arrived at the Nianchu Cave on Heavenly Phoenix Mountain. Tian Yao was practicing the Limitless Freedom Step, her figure moving deftly. Despite the short distance, the divine skills were already evident in her movements. This demoness comprehension was indeed high, but to reach 100 miles in one step, or even 1,000, would require many more years. As for achieving Gu An's level, he currently saw no hope. With just a glance, Guwen turned and began gathering medicinal herbs. Tian Yao spotted him, her face lighting up with delight as she quickly rushed over. A fragrant breeze hit Guwen, and Tian Yao hugged him, rubbing her face against his chest, causing him some exasperation. Why was this girl getting more and more clingy? "Why do you suddenly have a fragrance?" Guwen asked, raising an eyebrow, lightly patting Tian Yao's thigh as she became even bolder. Hugging was one thing, but using her legs to rub against him was too much. Tian Yao looked up, giggling. "I don't know either. Maybe it's my natural scent. Master, do you like it?" Guwen pressed his hand to her forehead, pushing her away. "It's passable. I have to pick herbs, so you keep practicing." Guwen was sincere. Although Tian Yao smelled good, it didn't stir his heart. Tonight he would reach his 10-million-year lifespan. Tian Yao didn't listen but followed him, asking about his preferences while he harvested. Guwen absent-mindedly responded, his thoughts already drifting overseas. He had begun to envision higher realms. After a while, Guwen suddenly sensed something, pausing briefly before continuing his harvest. His divine sense reached out beyond Nianchu Cave, scanning the distance. In the darkness, demon fog swirled, and beyond the mountains, colossal creatures moved. Upon closer inspection, he saw a group of cultivators besieging an ancient species 1,000 feet tall, causing the earth to tremble. The ancient species resembled a turtle, with a mountain, which was also a volcano, on its shell and 3 snake-like heads continually spewing demonic flames. Among the besieging cultivators, someone familiar caught his eye. Ji Xiaoyu. Why was she near Heavenly Phoenix Mountain? Ji Xiaoyu's cultivation level had reached the nascent soul realm's 7th layer. The cultivation levels of those with her were all at least Divinity Transformation Realm, numbering 27, including one Mystic Heart Realm cultivator watching from afar. Guwen could sense a demonic energy approaching from the distance, a cultivation level at the Mystic Heart Realm's 5th layer. Were these cultivators from the 7 Stars Spirit Realm? Guwen pondered quietly without pausing in his actions. Before long, the Mystic Heart Realm Great Demon attacked, forcing the Mystic Heart Realm cultivator to intervene. A battle between Mystic Heart Realm cultivators erupted, prompting Ji Xiaoyu and the others to retreat from the battlefield. Seeing the evenly matched Mystic Heart Realm battle, Guwen retracted his divine sense and continued gathering medicinal herbs earnestly. After a while, Guwen abruptly stopped as 2 notifications appeared before his eyes. Your lifespan has first surpassed 10 million years, activating the lifespan fusion function. Lifespan fusion. Consume lifespan to break the rules of heaven and earth and the laws of the heavenly Tao, fusing different divine skills, spells, and powers. The consumption is determined by the fused objects. Fusion? Guwen's first thought was of his 5 elements treasure body. He could finally fuse its cultivation technique into the 5 element skill. Expectancy shone in his eyes. Master, why did you stop? Asked Tian Yaoer nearby. Guwen replied, I was wondering if the amount of herbs has decreased, worried you might be stealing some. With that, he continued picking herbs. Tian Yaoer grew anxious, swearing she hadn't stolen any. Guwen teased her for a bit before assuring her he was joking. Tian Yaoer, dissatisfied, pouted and glared at him as though she wanted to eat him alive. It was the first time Guwen had seen her truly angry. Once the herbs were gathered, Guwen placed an arm around her shoulder, comforting, Don't be mad. Later, I'll teach you a powerful spell. Tian Yaoer pouted, The primordial earth immortal skill and limitless freedom step are already enough for me to practice. I don't need spells. Then what do you want? Let me think. How about you stay with me for a night? To practice cultivation? No, to read books together while lying down. Hearing this, Guwen immediately sensed something amiss. This girl was getting bolder. Chapter 168. Arrival in the Ocean, Merging Cultivation Technique. Faced with Tian Yaoer's multiple attempts at pleading, Guwen finally agreed to stay with her overnight. Tonight, he would break through a lifespan of 10 million years, allowing himself to relax for an evening. After Guwen agreed, Tian Yaoer became even more cheerful. To celebrate reaching a 10 million year lifespan, Guwen also returned to Mystic Valley to fetch some lamb for a barbecue, which moved Tian Yaoer greatly. She even thought Guwen was commemorating the special day. During the barbecue, Guwen's divine sense remained locked on the battlefield at the edge of Heavenly Phoenix Mountain. More and more demons were gathering. The great cultivator in the Mystic Heart Realm leading Ji Xiaoyu and the others could not secure victory immediately, which dragged Ji Xiaoyu and the others into the battle. If the fight continued like this, doom was likely. It was uncertain whether these people were from the Ji family or from the 7 Stars Spirit Realm. Guwen pondered this, while chatting with Tian Yaoer, making sure she did not notice any flaws in his behavior. An hour later, the great cultivator in the Mystic Heart Realm sustained severe injuries and had to lead Ji Xiaoyu and the others to escape. But by now it was too late to flee. Guwen lay under the tree, giving pointers to Tian Yaoer on her cultivation. Tian Yaoer was continuously practicing the limitless freedom step in front of him. Occasionally he gave his critiques. For each of his comments, Tian Yaoer felt aggrieved, her small mouth pouting. You promised to lie down and read books together. Liar. Big liar. The more Tian Yaoer trained, the redder her eyes became. Guwen found her expression amusing. Today, he would teach her a lesson. The harder you try to get something, the tougher it is to obtain. That was the meaning of life. If she started having these wild thoughts after just a few years, how would she endure thousands, or even tens of thousands of years? Guwen was moved by his own broad-mindedness. Tian Yao was indeed lucky to have met him. If it were another master, she would be doomed. Under the black sky, Ji Xiaoyu, clad in black, was fleeing quickly through the wilderness haunted by monsters and demons. Upon seeing her figure, these creatures all charged toward her. With a sword in her right hand, she used the heavenly dragon demon-suppressing form. A golden dharma aspect appeared behind her, and golden dragons emerged from it, massacring demons and monsters from all directions. Soon, she dissolved the heavenly dragon demon-suppressing form and slew demons and monsters with her sword. She could no longer tell directions and could only run in a single direction. She did not know how much time had passed. Ji Xiaoyu's spiritual power depleted. As she ran, she took spirit energy elixirs, but the spiritual power provided by these elixirs was completely inadequate for fighting. She stopped beneath a hill, swiftly took out small flags and talisman papers, and within 5 breaths, set up a formation, becoming invisible within a circled area. She sat down to meditate, beginning to cultivate energy. Demons flew over her head, unable to see her form. However, the ground began to tremble, rocks jumped up, making Ji Xiaoyu open her eyes and frown. From her viewpoint, a colossal figure loomed behind the mountains, faintly discernible. It was a giant demon in shape-shifting form, with a human-like body and a lion's head. Its long mane twisted like tendrils, horrifyingly menacing in the dark night. "Where do you think you're escaping to, little lady?" A cold, violent voice rang out, followed by a storm that swept through the mountain wilderness, kicking up waves of dust. After the gust hit Ji Xiaoyu's formation, the airborne rocks and currents avoided the formation, which highlighted its outline instead. Ji Xiaoyu stared at the approaching giant demon's silhouette with a calm expression, without a trace of fear in her eyes. She merely sighed softly, and a faint golden mark appeared on her forehead. Before long, the terrifying giant demon arrived in front of her. He squatted slowly, the cloud-like sea revealing his lion head with sharp fangs, blood-red eyes, and a mane, like flames from hell, blazing fiercely. Suddenly, the terrifying giant demon stopped. He raised his eyes to look behind Ji Xiaoyu. The golden mark on Ji Xiaoyu's forehead had expanded, covering her entire forehead like a complex network of lines. She sensed something and turned to look. On top of the hill behind her stood a figure, a man in purple clothes with a mask on his face, standing against the wind. She was secretly startled, not having noticed the other approaching. "Where did you come from?" the terrifying lion demon roared in anger, swinging a palm toward the hill. With one palm strike, Ji Xiaoyu's formation shattered under immense pressure. Small flags plunged into the ground, talisman papers fluttered, and her hairpiece was blown off, her hair dancing wildly. Boom! With a deafening roar, the earth shook and the sky trembled, forcing even Ji Xiaoyu, in the 7th layer of the nascent soul realm, to close her eyes. When the unsettling aura dissipated, she opened her eyes to find the terrifying lion demon left with only his upper body, blood raining down. The demon clouds in the night sky dispersed, revealing splendid, beautiful stars. Ji Xiaoyu's eyes widened in astonishment. That lion demon was so powerful, even her void-crossing realm companions were devoured by it. Subconsciously, she turned to look. The mysterious man still stood on the hill, his arms hanging naturally, as if he had not been the one to strike. The man was none other than Guwen. Suddenly, he saw something, sitting up abruptly. However, upon closer inspection, he found nothing in the sky. "That's odd, did I see wrong?" The man in green frowned deeply. He lost interest in reading, putting his book, The Investiture of the Gods, back into his storage bag before walking to the bow of the ship, gazing into the distance. The ocean stretched endlessly, but he could already feel the breath of his homeland. He smiled, murmuring, "A demon calamity, another opportunity for me to turn the tide in my favor." Guwen took over 500 steps, finally landing on a mist-shrouded island. The island was vast, sparsely populated with living creatures, with only 6 islands within 10,000 li, perfect for his breakthrough. He quietly slipped into the forest, sitting under an old tree, and immediately activated the lifespan barrier. He pulled up his attribute panel, seeing his lifespan of 10,010,000 years, a smile forming on his face. First, upgrade his cultivation technique. Guwen began using the lifespan fusion function, merging the primordial earth immortal skill with 4 basic cultivation techniques of different attributes. Due to the significant difference between these 5 techniques, forcibly merging them will not necessarily exceed the most powerful technique. Do you wish to continue? Well, did it mean the fusion would take an average? Guwen cursed inwardly. Was this a way to waste his lifespan? Fortunately, he prepared other techniques. Over the years, he had killed countless enemies, searched many souls, and transcribed many techniques himself, just in case. He immediately took out 4 high-rank techniques, starting to cultivate them one by one. He did not need to abandon his original cultivation, nor did he need to cultivate other attributes of spiritual power. He only needed to run through the sorcery once, allowing the techniques to enter his attribute panel. After half an hour, Guwen's attribute panel showed 4 more techniques. He intended to upgrade them one by one but received a prompt. The technique's attributes conflict. Please choose to abandon and start anew, or forcefully integrate, with a risk of deviation. Damn. Even with a golden finger similar to a system, he could still risk deviation? Guwen had no choice but to enable the lifespan fusion function, merging these 5 techniques. Fusion will cost 500,000 years of lifespan. Do you want to continue? This costs 500,000 years? Guwen suppressed his heartache and chose to continue. You invested 500,000 years of lifespan to merge the primordial earth immortal skill, karma fire dark sky skill, golden light spirit body art, vast earth vital energy skill, great cold heaven sorcery. Fusion successful. You comprehended 5 elements Taoist skill. Chapter 169 Breakthrough to the 9th layer of the loose immortal realm. As the prompt indicating successful fusion fell, a massive memory wildly surged into Guwen's mind, plunging his consciousness deep into it. Earth's spirit energy rose, the ground turned into a sea of chi, and 5-colored spiritual energy swirled around his body like a whirlwind. The spiritual energy of the entire island started to rush toward him, causing the mountains and forests to sway, and all the living creatures on the island to be startled and flee. Guwen immersed himself in the cultivation memories, forgetting about the outside world. An ancient hour later, he slowly opened his eyes. Through the lifespan barrier, he saw the woods shaking violently and thunderclouds rolling in the sky, as if he had suddenly moved from morning to evening. He savored the profoundness of the 5 elements Taoist skill, his heart filled with joy. The sorcery of the 5 elements was indeed formidable. The 5 elements created heaven and earth. Although the attributes of heaven and earth were more than the 5 elements, the 5 elements were the most fundamental. The 5 elements evolved into heaven and earth evolved into more attributes and rules. By relying on the evolution of lifespan, Guwen had already mastered the 5 elements Taoist skill. The myriad subtleties within the cultivation technique were hard to explain clearly in a short time. He reopened the attribute panel and devoted 500,000 years of lifespan into the 5 elements treasure body for evolution. One prompt after another popped up crazily before his eyes. Until he saw one prompt, and a smile appeared on his face. You have comprehended the true meaning of heaven and earth for 350,000 years, and received the tempering of heaven and earth true meaning in your physical body. Your root bone has transformed, and your 5 elements treasure body has advanced to the innate Taoist body. The following 150,000 years were all for enhancing the innate Taoist body, but the innate Taoist body did not advance further. As the earth spirit energy surged into Guwen's body again, he decided to continue devoting his lifespan, at least to undergo another transformation in his physique. He devoted 10,000 years after another. After 370,000 years, his innate Taoist body successfully advanced to the mystic holy body. The speed at which Earth's spirit energy poured into his body accelerated, plunging him into an indescribably wondrous state. At that moment, a powerful divine sense swept over the island. Nirvana realm. Guwen was secretly shocked. There were indeed immortal path realms hidden overseas. The continent he was on was just a small corner of heaven and earth. Guwen did not panic at all. Due to your reconstruction of cultivation techniques, you start from the energy cultivation realm comprehending the heaven and earth primordial skill. You cultivated chi absorption for 1 year, and your cultivation level restored to the foundation establishment realm. You cultivated chi absorption for 3 years, and your cultivation level restored to the core formation realm. You cultivated chi absorption for 5 years, and your cultivation level restored to the nascent soul realm. Cultivated chi absorption for 500 years, and your cultivation level restored to the Mahayana realm. You cultivated chi absorption for 5,000 years, and with great accomplishments in the heaven and earth primordial skill, you forcefully attacked the loose immortal realm and started tribulation crossing, but you did not endure the 5 mystical heavenly tribulation of the heavenly Tao. Tribulation crossing failed. You cultivated chi absorption for 10,000 years, and with great accomplishments in the heaven and earth primordial skill, you forcefully attacked the loose immortal realm again, but did not endure the 5 mystical heavenly tribulation of the heavenly Tao. Tribulation crossing failed. Seeing that he had to reconstruct, Guwen's face instantly stiffened. Fortunately, he only took 5,000 years to start attacking the second realm of the immortal path. The combination of the heaven and earth primordial skill and the mystic holy body was terrifying. One must know the lifespan evolution consumed more lifespan than real-time cultivation, because it needed more lifespan to evolve the cultivation process and quickly transform spiritual energy into his cultivation level. This time-compressed process naturally generated additional lifespan consumption. Guwen gained infinite confidence in his current skill and foundation. 5,000 years for 1 tribulation crossing? Piece of cake. Failure, failure, failure. A series of failure prompts appeared before Guwen's eyes, and he remained unfazed, as he still had plenty of lifespan left. The cultivation speed had increased, but tribulation crossing was a different matter. Guwen was already prepared for many failures. 1 million years of lifespan was enough for him to fail 200 times. Couldn't be that unlucky, could he? As Guwen watched, his face really did darken. What exactly was the 5 mystical heavenly tribulation of the heavenly Tao? Why was it so outrageous? Guwen thought of the previous heavenly tribulations he had endured. He had found no relevant records in the book collection pavilion. Others faced various minor heavenly tribulations, but for him, every heavenly tribulation seemed incredibly terrifying. He suspected it had to do with his physique and cultivation technique. Enhancing physique and cultivation technique, although it could accelerate cultivation speed, also increased the difficulty of tribulation crossing. Guwen looked at his remaining lifespan of 5 million years, his mood restless. Currently, on the mainland surface, there were no Nirvana realm experts. They might exist in the Demon Land or the 7 Stars Spirit Realm, but they were hidden. The 7 Stars Spirit Realm might have loose immortals, but could they defeat a traveling immortal like him? If such an old monster existed, Guwen could wait for decades until the million-year function activated, then he could boost up again. He didn't believe the 7 Stars Spirit Realm could defeat him with his cheats. No, I didn't really cheat. My cultivation level was achieved through my own efforts. Guwen comforted himself. The Earth's spirit energy poured into him far faster than before, and the lifespan barrier drew spiritual energy from a wide range, making Guin feel powerful auras from all directions. Loose immortal realm auras had already appeared. Would traveling immortal realm auras appear next? Guin felt secretly nervous. Having just reached this realm, he didn't want to confront anyone of the same level. As time went on, Guin continually impacted the traveling immortal realm, and the mysteries of this realm gradually surfaced in his mind. Traveling immortal, an immortal roaming heaven and earth. From the ninth heaven to the depths of the earth, the primordial spirit and physical body merged, freely coming and going through heaven and earth. The primordial spirit was no longer fragile, possessing even greater power than the physical body. Reaching this realm, the power of the soul surpassed mana for the first time, and naturally, his mana also transformed. The 9 heavens of the immortal path, the higher one ascended, the greater the gap of each layer. While Guin was immersed in his breakthrough, a colossal wave rolled up from the west, 1,000 feet high, shocking him to turn and look. With a thunderous crash, the island where Guin resided was submerged by the wave, and before the island could re-emerge, the surrounding waters started churning violently. Guin distinctly felt something hit the island, causing the mountain at the island's base to break, and he fell with it. The lifespan barrier's advantages were fully revealed. Though the barrier fell, he remained seated as if on the ground, without any jolts, and the earth's spirit energy continued to flow into him. He looked up, through the surging seawater, and saw a colossal creature seemingly as vast as a mountain range moving through the sea, its presence awe-inspiring. Deep Sea Ancient Whale, Nirvana Realm 8th Layer 87808/15000/180000, an 80,000-year-old sea demon. No wonder they said the ocean was more treacherous than the demon land. Guin noticed other sea demons of various realms, finding them quite novel. Soon, his breakthrough approached a critical juncture, forcing him to close his eyes and focus entirely on understanding the traveling immortal realm's true essence. Time passed quickly. When Guin opened his eyes, he had already reached the first layer of the traveling immortal realm, discovering himself at the seafloor. It was pitch black, surrounded by numerous mountains and countless sea demons, nary a living being without demon energy. Being in such an environment was inevitably frightening. Fortunately, Guin sensed no aura of the traveling immortal realm. If a traveling immortal showed up, he would have to go all out next. From the first to the 9th layer of the traveling immortal realm required even more vast spiritual energy. The lifespan barrier continually drew Earth's spirit energy, causing even the sea floor to tremble slightly. An hour later, Guin sensed intense activity in the distance, as if an underwater volcano erupted. Amidst the scorching seawater, an aura from the loose immortal realm emerged, chaotic and agitated. He vaguely heard a shout. "Aha! The Taoist has finally broken free. 7 stars spirit realm, just you wait." Upon hearing this, Guin was secretly delighted. Could it be that he rescued an enemy of the 7 stars spirit realm? He now regarded the 7 stars spirit realm as his imaginary foe. If more enemies of the 7 stars spirit realm appeared, he would naturally be pleased. Even with the cultivation of the 9th layer of the traveling immortal realm, Guin had no plans of single-handedly challenging the 7 stars spirit realm. At least there needed to be someone openly sharing the burden of attention. He could venture into the 7 stars spirit realm and deal with the strongest enemies, but couldn't let everyone think he alone took it down. The 7 stars spirit realm had existed for so many years. Who knew what connections it had across the ocean? The ocean was not short of immortal path life forms. Resolving this calamity surely meant another was on the horizon. Life was always filled with difficulties. If Guin could slow down each phase, it would be beneficial for him. Guin contemplated no further. As long as no one disturbed him, he could find peace even at the seafloor. He pulled up his attribute panel. The lifespan barrier rapidly consumed his lifespan. He had about 1,500,000 years left. After some thought, he decided to enhance his swordsmanship. He had hesitated to do so before, fearing an insufficient lifespan, But now, with a remaining lifespan, he could proceed. He previously hesitated to upgrade the wood spirit sword technique. Now possessing the 5-element skill, there was no need to upgrade the wood spirit sword technique. He continued to enhance the Taitsong Divine Shocking Sword. This was the signature sword technique of Sword Venerable Fudao. More and more people recognized the Taitsong Divine Shocking Sword, which wasn't a good thing. He had to create a sword technique unheard of by the world. Let's start with a test of 200,000 years. After watching quietly for a while, Guan finally spoke up. There is a powerful force within you. After depleting your spiritual power, this force has actually enhanced your cultivation level. Upon hearing this, Ji Xiaoyu quickly opened her eyes, then stood up and faced him with a clasped fist in courtesy. I have ties with the Ji family and wish to teach you a divine skill. Would you like to learn? Guan asked calmly. He intended to impart the Taoist Gang Primal Energy to Ji Xiaoyu. The Taoist Gang Primal Energy, transformed from Heaven and Earth Path Gang, was stolen from Ji Xiaoyu by Jiang Qiong. By returning it to Ji Xiaoyu, Guan repaid the debt of her past rescue. Upon hearing this, Ji Xiaoyu asked, May I ask, Senior, what divine skill is it? The Taoist Gang Primal Energy. Have you heard of it? The Taoist Gang Primal Energy? Ji Xiaoyu was moved, her eyes showing a mix of surprise and doubt. Guan said softly, It seems you have heard of it. Through her mask, Ji Xiaoyu could not discern his true appearance. She suppressed her inner shock and asked with furrowed brows, May I ask, Senior, who exactly are you? The Taoist Gang Primal Energy is an ultimate skill of the Ji family that has been lost. There is no related transmission within the family, and to master the Taoist Gang Primal Energy, one must first cultivate the Heaven and Earth Dominator body. To achieve the Heaven and Earth Dominator body is enough to be included in the main family's lineage. Guan replied, There is no need for you to know my identity. You only need to answer whether you want to learn. Then please, Senior, teach me. Ji Xiaoyu replied without hesitation. Guan waved his sleeve, and a gust of wind blew towards Ji Xiaoyu. She had no time to dodge and was immobilized. In her pupils, a figure continuously changed stances. While Ji Xiaoyu was entranced, Guan observed her, equally curious. Besides the primordial Taoist talisman, Guan sensed she had other secrets. She possessed an indescribable composure. Even facing Guan, she did not lose her poise. Guan recalled the first time he saw Ji Xiaoyu in his youth. She was different from her peers even at a few years of age. At that time, he even guessed she might have been possessed by someone with an old soul inside her body. An hour later, Ji Xiaoyu's eyes became clear. She took a deep breath and turned to look at Guan, who was standing not far away by the mountain wall. She said, Thank you, Senior, for your guidance. How can I repay you? She was sure the Taoist Gang Primal Energy she just acquired was genuine. The Taoist Gang Primal Energy shared many similarities with her Heaven and Earth Path Gang. She could even see the signs of the Heaven and Earth Path Gang evolving into Taoist Gang Primal Energy. This person's Tao level surely exceeded her imagination. He might even be the strongest person she had ever encountered in her life. I do not need your repayment. I am only considering your surname, Ji. Tell me, what are your impressions of the 7-star spirit realm? Guan replied casually. In fact, in his heart, Ji Xiaoyu was more important than the Ji family. Although the Ji family raised him years ago, they intended to cut off his hand. It was Ji Xiaoyu who spoke up to save him. His acceptance into the Supreme Sect was also Ji Xiaoyu's idea, unrelated to the Ji family. Over the years, the medicinal herbs Guan had contributed were enough to repay the Ji family. This time, rescuing Ji Xiaoyu was also repaying her past kindness. At least in Guan's mind, he and the Ji family, including Ji Xiaoyu, were even in grace. The Ji family was about to leave the Supreme Sect. To Guan, it meant that the Ji family would have no relation to him in the future, becoming strangers. Ji Xiaoyu looked at Guan and calmly said, "A place named Holy Land, but in reality, a demon cave." Guan was surprised. He did not expect Ji Xiaoyu to recognize this. Ji Xiaoyu continued, "It seems Senior also has a different view of the Seven Stars spirit realm. Otherwise, you would not have asked me. Perhaps we can stand on the same side." "Oh, why should we stand on the same side?" Gu En's tone was intriguing. Ji Xiaoyu frankly said, "I want to overthrow the Seven Stars spirit realm. My power alone is too weak. I hope Senior can assist me." Gu En inquired, "Reason?" "It has nothing to do with the sake of the people. The Ji family wants to marry me off to a disciple of the Seven Stars spirit realm. For the sake of blood relations, I cannot oppose the Ji family, so I intend to eliminate the Seven Stars spirit realm." Ji Xiaoyu's expression remained calm. "Though I was born in the Ji family, I will not choose to sacrifice myself for the family. Between me and the family, I will always choose myself. If Senior harbors animosity towards the Seven Stars spirit realm, then we can join forces. I will gather as much information about the Seven Stars spirit realm as possible." Listening to her, Gu En could sense the coldness emanating from her bones, causing him to reassess her. In Gu An's impression, Ji Xiaoyu had been merely calm and composed. Only this time did he truly understand who Ji Xiaoyu was. Although her words seemed selfish, Gu En did not dislike her for it. A person must prioritize themselves, and Ji Xiaoyu had not harmed her clansmen. The Seven Stars spirit realm was indeed not a decent entity. Gu En said, "All right." Ji Xiaoyu immediately raised her hand in salute to Gu En. "Do you know that the root cause of the demon calamity comes from the Seven Stars spirit realm?" Gu En suddenly asked. Upon hearing this, Ji Xiaoyu frowned and said, "I only know some of the evil deeds the Seven Stars spirit realm has done. I guess there might be a connection, but I don't know the specific reasons." Gu En then told her what he had learned. As she listened, Ji Xiaoyu's brows furrowed more and more tightly. After he finished speaking, Ji Xiaoyu coldly said, "If what you say is true, then destroying the Seven Stars spirit realm could indeed save the populace. The Seven Stars spirit realm is deeply rooted and strong. To destroy them is extremely difficult. For now, you should lie low. Once humanity prevails over the demon calamity, then make plans against the Seven Stars spirit realm." Gu En replied. Ji Xiaoyu nodded. Then Gu En waved his sleeve, taking her to the edge of the great Jiang dynasty. In the land of 5 dynasties, there must be a transmission array leading to the Seven Stars spirit realm. Delivering her here made Ji Xiaoyu safer. Before Ji Xiaoyu could speak, Gu En disappeared from the spot. Ji Xiaoyu spread her divine sense and soon caught sight of cultivators. Her expression grew complex. To cross such a vast distance in such a short time? Who exactly is he? As autumn ended, winter snow finally arrived. After parting with Ji Xiaoyu, Gu En returned to his usual farming life. Even though he had reached the 9th layer of the wandering immortal realm, he did not act recklessly. However, the changes brought by wandering immortal could not be completely hidden, so he began to elevate his apparent cultivation level. He planned to pretend to reside in the core formation realm using elixirs. In the future, he could slowly improve his cultivation, creating the image of someone dependent on elixirs. This would make others think him lucky and not strong. Gu En aimed to be perceived as harmless to the Supreme Sect and other factions, making everyone believe there was no point in killing him, nor any harm in keeping him alive. This day, in the 3rd Medicine Valley, Gu En was playing chess with Lu Lingjun. Snow drifted down but could not cover their bodies or the chessboard. Gu En placed a piece and smiled, "You've lost again." Lu Lingjun frowned, puzzled. She had calculated countless scenarios. How did she still lose? It didn't make sense, she thought. She was in the mystic heart realm. Unable to restrain herself, she asked, "Why can't I beat you?" "You're too hasty. Being hasty leads to flaws." Gu En replied. Chess was something he brought to this world. How could he lose? He had to defend the dignity of Huaxia people. Lu Lingjun couldn't help but ponder. At that moment, a figure flew over, Elder Gu Zong's son, Guyu. He quickly landed beside Guwen, excitedly saying, Guwen, the true inheritor disciple has returned. He's planning to lecture in the inner sect after the new year. You have to listen. They say he's now in the Mahayana realm. Hearing this, Lu Lingjun grew interested too. 4 mystic heart realm cultivators. The most intriguing subject was how to reach the Mahayana realm. Guwen couldn't help but ask, really? What is the true inheritor disciple's name? Yesterday, he had sensed a Mahayana realm cultivator enter the supreme sect. As elders had personally received the person, he hadn't paid much attention. Of course, it's true. His name is Xian Tianyi. With a Mahayana cultivator like him, we'll have a better chance against the demon calamity. He said if he'd come back earlier, dealing with the 6-headed sea dragon, another Mahayana cultivator would have taken just a single move. Guyu said excitedly, his face full of admiration. This was also why investiture of the gods became so popular. Xian Tianyi was very curious about how Guwen wrote such an extraordinary book. Guwen replied that he met an immortal in his dreams who touched his forehead, suddenly enlightening him. It was sudden because he could never write another divine work like Investiture of the Gods afterwards. Your supreme immortal venerable and shattering void are also good, but I still think they fall short of Investiture of the Gods, Xian Tianyi said with lingering interest. Guwen didn't argue, but asked what book he had written. Xian Tianyi suddenly looked embarrassed and mumbled. Guwen seized the opportunity, constantly asking questions, and finally, Xian Tianyi revealed the book's title. What? Green Hero Travel is your work? Guwen exclaimed, slapping the table in excitement. Whether it was Xian Tianyi's illusion or not, he felt an inexplicable panic for a moment, unsure if he was scared by Guwen or had a guilty conscience. He nodded reluctantly. Guwen raised his hand and took out a copy of Green Hero Travel from his storage bag, which made Xian Tianyi emotional upon seeing it. I love Green Hero Travel. I've read every copy at least 100 times, Guwen went on and on about his love for Green Hero Travel. Xian Tianyi listened, feeling unprecedentedly moved in his heart. Finally, someone appreciated his talent. He immediately felt as if they had met too late. On the way back, lying on the deck, each time he read Investiture of the Gods, he felt more of a connection with Panin. This feeling of anticipation even surpassed the thrill of returning to save the sect. Sure enough, Panin was the soulmate he had been seeking all his life. The more Xian Tianyi thought about it, the more excited he became. He suddenly stood up, grabbed Guwen's shoulders with both hands, and said, Panin, no, Guwen, let's become sworn brothers. From now on, he'll be your elder brother. Guwen was stunned. What kind of logic was this? Wasn't the pace too fast? Seeing his hesitation, Xian Tianyi said boldly, Brother, I tell you, with my cultivation level on this continent, I am undoubtedly invincible. Swear brotherhood with me, and no one will dare to bully you anymore. I heard that LV Baitin wants to take you as a disciple? Don't listen to him. His defying fate divine skill is dubious and sinister. I can teach you my divine skill. With our brotherhood, I won't say it'll help you defy heaven and change fate, but leading you to the unification realm won't be difficult. Initially, Guwen wanted to refuse, thinking it absurd to become a younger brother to him, a wandering immortal. But Xian Tianyi's latter words tempted him. He was worried about how to live for 1,000 years in the future. Normally, once he reached the divinity transformation realm, people wouldn't consider him ordinary anymore. Now, if he reached the unification realm with Xian Tianyi's help, people would at most admire him and not see him as a threat.